Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me for another ATS News live stream. This is a continuation of our deep dives into the Mackenzie Shirilla case. Unfortunately, we have not heard the end of this case as she is in the process of filing for her appeals. And even, the mainstream media is following that very closely. And I believe Cuomo had really interesting takes. Believe it or not, I know some people feel a certain way about Chris Cuomo, but I know that he has a law background, and he had Mark Garagos on a few nights, and just really interesting information that they gave about their perspective and professional opinion of this appeal process and how her bench trial went the way it did. A lot of questions on whether or not she could file for ineffective counsel, and they're debating on this whole POTS medical condition, and they're using that heavily in their appeal process. So this case is just something that a lot of people have been digging into, especially since the Netflix documentary. I've been a follower and moderator for Melly ever since she started this case. And, I've listened to the text messages being read by her. So I have like a very deep understanding of this case based off of her research, and even the prison phone calls, the jail phone calls that have been released by other channels too. Like I've listened in on a lot of those too. We haven't had a chance to really go through the prison or jail phone calls or the detectives' notes and body cam and other interviews live, but we definitely can, and we'll definitely get to that. I feel like this case is going to wind up being deep dives, much like we've done in the Watts case here, if you guys have followed me since then, or other cases that we've dug deep into, Gilgo Beach killer, just different ones that we can kind of pull out different things every time we listen to it. You might get a different perspective. I've uploaded Dom's mother and his brother's audio interviews and enhanced the audio. I've noticed that a lot of new stuff is coming out too, even based off of past police interactions that Mackenzie and Dom and Davion had leading up to the tragedy. So it's all very deep, and we're definitely going to keep digging. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I see everyone in chat. And yes, hit the like button if you haven't done so. And we are going to keep digging into Rosie and Bubba. And I feel like what better way to dig into them than listen to one of Bubba's most recent interviews that he gave on the JFK show. It was a very long interview, so we're taking our time with it. I'm thinking we might be able to finish it this time. So give me 1 second to share my screen for that. But I will say that this was something that I'd found, I believe, in a Facebook group based off of this case. And it is part of an investigator's note. And it says Shirilla was found to have 8.1 grams of magic mushrooms in her possession. Additionally, investigators identified text messages between Shirilla and Graham discussing them wanting to trip on magic mushrooms. So that is Rosie that they're referring to, and Mackenzie, and how much each person wanted to purchase from Russo. Through Shirilla on the night of the fatal motor vehicle accident. So those text messages, they're obviously including in their notes as significant to their timeline and broad picture of, why those mushrooms were found in her waistband. It was also with a scale, and what led to this horrific event. Croy went on to state that Graham told him that Graham, so this is Rosie, drove home safely that night. According to Croy, Graham told him that she dropped Turner off at home and then drove home herself. And drove past, I believe this is Rosie that we're referring to, because again, they're using last names. You guys help me, because again, I don't know I know that, Bubba's last name is Turner. Okay, so drove home herself. In doing so, drove past the crash site around 6 AM, not even realizing Shirilla, Russo, and Flanagan were in the crashed vehicle. Graham also told Croy that Shirilla took a nap that night prior to driving home. So they're referring to her sleeping on the couch, which has that's been consistent in a lot of people's story. Mackenzie's story, Bubba, and Rosie have all stated and agreed upon, and I think other people. Yes, thank you so much. I wanted to make sure, but now I'm happy that it's been confirmed because I know you guys know a lot about this case too. It's just really it's mind-boggling, so people are just gravitated to it, I think. Um, Croy again addressed his text messages with Flanagan just before the crash and that Flanagan was acting or communicating in a normal fashion. Both witnesses stated that Flanagan took a lot of videos when he hung out with friends and that it is likely that there are videos of them using and then it crosses out substances, so Croy went on to state that Flanagan and Croy via text message that night that Flanagan was tripping balls. Croy then stated that Graham mentioned that Shirilla and Russo were also tripping or I'm sorry, sipping or drinking a drink which is comprised of NyQuil, cough medicine with soda, and sometimes alcohol. So, keep this in mind, this little note with everything that we're listening to. We know that the blood tests were negative for magic mushrooms for Mackenzie, but this whole idea of Mackenzie and Dom drinking a drink comprised of NyQuil, cough medicine, and soda, sometimes with alcohol, it's a little troubling. But let's keep it in our minds, refer to this, and, yeah, let's listen to what Bubba had to say, and thanks everyone again for being here. But, yeah, we'll go through the police notes, in the future much fun. There's, a lot to go through. But, yeah, JFK did a great job on this, so it's been really interesting to listen to it, so I'm gonna speed it up. I got it at 1.25, it should be good.
We needed to retain a
This is a few weeks old by now.
forensic auto investigator to do a complete analysis of that car. We're working properly. The car didn't malfunction. And in his professional opinion, the slipper was stuck.
The slipper was stuck
to the floorboard.
All right, so here we go. We're here now, brother. We're at the end of the road. The accident. She doesn't get arrested until November, right?
Mm-hmm.
It happened in July. When did she?
So, yeah, I just wanted to say I have him linked, and my mod will drop his link as well, but you should definitely subscribe to JFK. He's got other interviews as well, with Natalie being one of them, and really interesting takes on this case and Karen Reed. So I will drop that in chat. And, yeah, this is I heard through Melly that he did another interview. Hi, Roxanne and Johnny. Good to see everybody. Recently on TikTok, but I haven't heard that. But this is his most recent next to the TikTok one. Hey, Michelle, boss lady, neat.
She start like coming out, hanging out? Like, were you talking to her like right after it happened? Like, how much correspondence did you have with her?
So I saw her in the hospital about 3 or 4 times after the accident, along with.
And what was the first thing she said to you that happened?
Asking us what we remember from that night, if they were fighting, if there was anything going on, and we told her no. And at that time, it was, I can't remember if she, when we first saw her, I can't remember if she knew that they had passed or not, but I know she didn't know that they were having funerals. Like we didn't want to, no one wanted to tell her the dates of the funerals. And I mean, it was more like we were just there for her in a way, you know, like we didn't think anything of it. We didn't think that, you know, she did this on purpose. That was never a thought that went through her head. So we were kind of more there for her than she was for us, you know. And I remember one of those visits, I accidentally let it slip that Dom's funeral is coming up. And that was.
How does that just happen to slip out? You know, like everyone made a point to make sure that that wasn't discussed, but somehow Bubba is the one that leaks it. And I'm telling you, there's a lot of things about Bubba and Rosie. It's not just how long he took to have a police interview, or the fact that even in the Netflix documentary, the detective on this case came out saying that Rosie was like non-cooperative, and she admits it. And, you know, it's more a lot of like subtle things that he says in this stream. Not just that, like there's a lot more that we'll point out, and we have pointed out the last 2 weeks. But wanted to thank you, Hoodies, for becoming a member. I really appreciate that. And thank you so much, Jennifer. I really appreciate that as well.
Was actually when it was the same day, because we ended up leaving. And when we left, I guess she freaked out and was like telling everyone she's going to the funeral, no matter if they like it or not. And she was trying to rip herself out of bed. And I think that's when police were called to the hospital. And then we also got a call from her parents telling us to come back and see if we can try and calm her down. And we went in there and we calmed her down a little bit. She was hysterical, not being able to go. And we had to calm her down and sit with her for not the rest of the night, for a pretty decent chunk of the night though, and just make sure she was calmed down. But yeah, I mean, once she got out of the hospital, we didn't really, not that we didn't hear from her, but she was just kept up in the house. She was a lot more just like staying at home, not really talking to nobody. And I remember talking to her parents, and her parents saying how she just stays up in her room with this whole shrine of Dom's things, of all the shirts that she has. She had like all of the last items that he's given her, that she had of his, was all like neatly put in one spot. And she just wouldn't leave. She wouldn't leave. Like, I know I've seen the videos of her always wearing his shirts and stuff. So she just wouldn't leave the house. And then, so when it came, and plus at the time too, we were in college, you know what I mean? So like
life went on.
Exactly. Like we were battling life moving forward, but also still being wrapped up with all this stuff, you know? So it was just a big battle.
It was a big battle, which makes sense. You know, everyone went off to college, and Mackenzie is healing. But if you're just so busy and life is moving forward, I don't know. It sounds like they were following Mackenzie very closely still on social media, which for all generations, I think a lot of people do that anyways. But just kind of noteworthy, you know, because if you're going to play off also that like it was so hard to transition from, you know, move forward from that tragedy to college life and stuff, it's like you didn't think to separate social media and following. I don't know. Again, I'm just trying to figure this whole thing out. So I'm kind of bouncing ideas off you guys, but I just feel like them being Bubba and Rosie being so loyal to Mackenzie and the Shirillas, like to me is really questionable. I don't know. Especially knowing that, you know, the day that they found out that Dom and Davion for sure passed and they're waiting to hear about Mackenzie or whatever, they go over to Paul's house. You know, like, I don't know. That to me, like Paul's the house that they left that morning from. And everyone just thinks there was so much more to what actually took place leading up to them leaving at 5:30 in the morning.
And so I remember us being down in college, and so when they went to that Kid Cudi concert, of her and pictures of her in the wheelchair at the concert, I wasn't able to go to that. That's because I had football camp early. I wasn't able to make it. Rosie ended up going with her. I know she ended up going with like Dom's cousin too. Dom's cousin ended up going with her. And so like that night, as we're watching all these videos, you know, we're watching Big Lies, we're watching this, we're watching that. At one point, they put on concert videos of Kid Cudi. And I remember specifically talking about how Kid Cudi used to be coked up all the time. He used to be, you know, on all these types of drugs when he'd be performing. You could see it. And
Okay, so Bubba knows what it's like to be in the presence of people coked up all the time, and you could see it, he's saying. So, I don't know, interesting. And by the way, I'm just zooming in on Bubba because I really want to like study his body movements and all that. Nothing against the panel. Great guys. But I just want to see Bubba. So I hope you guys don't mind I zoomed.
He ended up talking about that all led into how he's coming to Cleveland soon. He's coming to Cleveland in a couple months. And Rosie and them already had bought their tickets. And they're sitting there telling Davey, I'm like, get your ticket, Dom, get your ticket. Like, come on, let's go to this. And so, you know, they passed away the next morning. And when that concert finally came around, I guess they kind of, like, not forced, they begged Kenzie to come with them in a way of like, hey, like, we have this planned with them. Let's fulfill this. They would want us to go out and do this. They'd want us to have live this experience. And that was the same thing with OU. I remember talking to Dom about how the girls are going down to OU or they're going down to college. And he's like, dude, the Halloween weekend there is like the craziest college weekend in Ohio history. Like, you think about Ohio University's Halloween weekend, like, is the most crazy parties. Streets are full of people. So they were excited to be able to experience that since the girls were going to OU. So that was another thing that, like, we're talking about getting a hotel and getting bottles of Azul and all that. And so when that finally came around, we did the same thing. I was there for that one, but we ended up getting Kenzie.
When she dressed like Gotti, Playboy Gotti, you were there for that.
So remember in the documentary, they pointed out like, oh, here's her dressed as a corpse. This is the party that Bubba's referring to. This is that Halloween. So the accident happens summertime. The next season, she's out partying. And in addition, going to this concert that even Dom wanted to go to. That all was kind of used as like a character assassination against her in front of the judge during her trial. And in the Netflix documentary, you guys saw that. Me personally, I wouldn't have been able to go to the concert because music is very like sentimental and like emotional to me. So but everyone's different. I think it's kind of strange that she went to the concert and then went out partying so soon. But again, that's just behavior and people's opinion and perception of it. You guys share what you would have been able to do. If you were Mackenzie, would you have gone to the concert so soon and partied the way she did? All that, those social media posts that she put up, those were used against her.
Yeah. So when we got her to come down and we got a hotel.
And what was she like? What was she like there? Did you ask her any questions there? Like, what did she say? Like,
that was the first time she was actually able to walk. Like, she was like on her feet walking and not in a wheelchair. But at that point,
what did you think happened?
Honestly, right when this first happened, right when we found out, like the second we got to Paul's house, the very first thing that went through our head was we hoped that she didn't have a POTS attack or have a seizure. That was the first thing.
Yeah.
And of course, JFK, rightfully so, is going to be surprised. Like, that was your first thing. And isn't it interesting? He starts off this whole, like, what he thought had happened when they were at Paul's house. Oh, honestly, I don't know. I always get weirded out when people start their story with the word honestly or to be honest with you, because then it's like you're already trying to sell this story right off the bat. I don't know. But maybe that's what he thought. But think about that investigative note. This says that they're all on board with the fact that Mackenzie and Dom were drinking this cough syrup and soda and possibly alcohol sometime mixed in. So why, when you guys all go to Paul's house the day you found out that everyone had passed, why is POTS the first thing you guys go to in your mind? I already see the comments saying that's BS. Right. Why wouldn't you be honest in the first place? Right. The fact that you're trying to sell. Honestly, I don't know, Bubba. Honestly, I don't know about you. Yeah, I agree that recording a Dom plus the text messages sold the fate for the judge. I do want to know, like, when I ask you guys, what would you guys do? Or do you think this was strange that she did the concert so soon? Or do you think it's strange she went to the Halloween parties? Because if she does this appeal, I believe she can choose a jury trial the next time. So if you're on the jury and you're hearing this information, pretend it's for the first time, and the prosecution pulls up those Halloween pics and they start saying, and she went to this concert. Like, would you be thinking like, oh, that doesn't look good? But yeah, the video of Dom that he had taken, that for sure was not a good look. But remember, if there's 12 people, I wouldn't be going anywhere either. Especially if I'm the driver. Like, I think about me going on my cruise, but I had already planned my cruise and my dad unexpectedly passed. I still went on it but I wasn't tied to the accident the way that Mackenzie is tied to this crash. You know what I mean? So it's like different for me to compare. But if I'm Mackenzie and that was my boyfriend and I'm the driver, I definitely don't think I would be going to the concert. But again, everyone's different. I'm just saying that was used against her. So it's interesting because when you look at circumstantial evidence and behavior, that falls under circumstantial evidence. So if this appeal someday goes through, just something to think about. What would the jury think? And, even the appeal board, like, take the jury out of it. Like, what are they going to think of things being presented? Like, because this Potts thing is going to be heavily put on for the appeal board. And if she ever was going to be retried. Oh, no, there's no way I would be getting behind a wheel. No.
Makes sense in our head. And then, like, obviously reckless driving, but we were kind of waiting more for the court evidence to come out about that. If there was medical evidence, we didn't know what was going on with that. And I mean, from her saying that she didn't remember, it kind of played into the whole part of if she did have a medical episode,
But why would you think that if you've never seen that?
Because I just knew that was a big concern of theirs, that like she was always nervous for something like that to happen, that Dom would always, he would raise concerns about that too. So like I knew that was.
Yeah, but when she took mushrooms, but you're saying that she didn't take mushrooms that night. You said it on the documentary. She smoking a lot of weed that night.
That's for, I guess, the seizure aspect. I'm talking about more the pots. The pots have no relation to the mushrooms. The pots are just pots.
But as you start to realize that the car was going 100 miles per hour, and you said earlier on, this live stream that you never seen her really fly that fast, why would you think she was going that fast?
Like I said, like at the end of the day, I'll never truly know. It's all speculation. But my top, I guess, theories is reckless driving, a medical episode, or car malfunction. I never really believe in the whole slipper thing. I don't really know too much about that whole theory and whatnot. So I never really looked into that.
So in all his theories, and he gave you 3, not one of them has Mackenzie as like at fault intentionally. You know what I mean? Like, the narrative has always got to be for Rosie, Bubba, and Mackenzie, a medical episode or a malfunction of the car. Like, they are going to put out this narrative so hard. As far as her actually having it, I think in 2017 it came out that she was diagnosed POTS. Not that I think that that's what happened, but I think that was confirmed to have been on her record, but it was never included in the trial, the bench trial. So that's also part of the appeal, is they're saying like, oh, ineffective counsel and just mistakes made along the way where they didn't include it. But yeah, I saw Debbie. Good to see you.
That never was a discussion between friends. Like, hey, the slipper was there. You see the slipper, because most people see the slipper, they think that first, right? No.
Yeah, no, that wasn't really a big thing. Like, we had heard that the car crushed around it, and that was at that. Like, we didn't really think anything much of it. Like I said, like the very, very last thing we ever were expecting was it to be, oh, they got into a fight and they were breaking up that night, and she and wanted to kill him. That's
Also, keep in mind, we did hear through the investigative notes that Melly read through, and eventually we'll get there. Like I said, there's so much to come through, that they acknowledged in the camera of them turning down that street that they believed there was a device with a screen, which was something we pointed out here in one of our first deep dives. So let me share the screen. I know you guys have seen this, but when we're listening to Bubba kind of talk about like his theory of what led to it, we have to remember the facts of it is they mentioned themselves in the investigative notes that there was a screen that they believed they could see. But we don't know what it was, a laptop, whatever. So just keep it in mind, because whatever Bubba's talking about with his theories, like, look at, he leaves out, like, you're telling me Rosie and Bubba have looked at this footage all these years and none of them, or even the investigative notes, they refer to Mackenzie's text messages all the time. Bubba does. He refers to phone calls, conversations that are out there publicly, not with himself and Mackenzie, with Mackenzie and her family and stuff. But you're telling me like he doesn't notice this screen that the investigators noted and we never got a follow-up on? You know, it's just interesting the stuff that Bubba talks about, and, you know, him thinking like that this was a medical situation right off the bat. It's like, that's what you thought? But
that's what they said in court.
Well, if she hit the gas, if she stomped the gas and she headed straight that way, regardless, that's what happened, right?
Yeah.
You can't explain. So your explanation of driving fast is that it was a medical emergency. She was driving reckless and she couldn't get off the gas. You're saying?
Not all simultaneously. You know what I mean? It was either they were reckless driving. Hey, let's see how fast we can get down this road. They get up to 90, they get to 100 miles per hour. Something happens. Panic is set in the car. We don't know how people react to panic. I don't think we'll ever know.
But that never happened. That never happened when you hung with them. You never. Now you said you drove that car. You said it wasn't a fast car, right?
No, I mean, I never had the opportunity to see how fast it got up to speed. You know what I mean? I pulled it around the block. It wasn't like, it felt like a new car, touchy. You know what I mean? It was touchy on the
But
gas.
what I'm saying is like she didn't drive it like she stole it though.
No, not that I've ever witnessed. No.
So why would she be doing it at that particular time that morning? And Dawn, did you ever?
I just seem like that's something that they would do before they got into a fight, or that randomly at 5 a.m. and only being in the car for 4 minutes, Dom just decides to break up with her while they're in the car on the way to his house, knowing that they're all going to have to go back into that house. I don't know why they wouldn't just wait till they got back to the house to have an argument or to break up with each other.
I mean, things happen in the heat of the moment. I'm sure there's been numerous people who are leaving one place to go home, and a breakup happens in between that time. But
there's no facts that back it that I see, and so I just can't wrap my head, and I just can't wrap my head around that just they magically got in some form of fight and she wanted to kill them. Like at the very worst, when it comes to like the violence aspect, it was reckless driving. That's just simply how I look at it, knowing these individuals, you know.
I do think something happened at the house, though, which I go back to. Maybe it wasn't something spur of the moment in the car, but there's a screen in that vehicle. What is going on that screen? We don't know. What type of screen is it? We don't know. It was never followed up on. But is that related to whatever happened? Correct. No impulse control. People have even thrown around the idea that something about her being, her weight. It's clear that in her text messages, everything that we know, even in the police interviews with people, like she seems to have an eating disorder. But people are also bringing that up in, did she have some episode? I don't know. I'm just telling you what's out there. She did not suffer POTS episode driving her car, it is literally impossible. I agree, because they've gone into the whole medical aspect around that. This guy, and good to see you. The guy in the middle, okay, we are on JFK's channel. The guy in the middle is Bubba. He is one of the witnesses to the victims in this case, and the perpetrator, defendant, Mackenzie. The last people to have seen them, basically, before they died. And Mackenzie had to be rushed to the hospital in the helicopter. Yeah, the parents are MIA. Honestly, this whole case, on many levels, it's very sad, especially finding out that Davion was like kicked out of his house at the time. It just adds, the more we dig into this, the more we see how tragic it really was. Like, a lot of, even the body cam that had come out yesterday on Melly's channel of Dom being pulled over, just so many aspects. It was like, there was no preventing this unless he had gotten away from Mackenzie.
You got a question to ask, Kevin?
Yeah, you had spoken on when you were in the hospital, kind of like the first thing that she kind of asked was like, what do you guys remember? Like, were we fighting? There was talk about her stating that, that she felt like Dom was missing for a couple hours at the house. Can you speak on that? I mean,
yes, the only thing I heard of that was in the phone call, the jail phone call between her and her mom, where she states that when Paul came downstairs to check on everybody, he claims that he didn't see Dom next to her when he went down for that however many minutes and then went back up. And like, I honestly don't know. I don't know exactly what point in time of the night that was. From when I was sitting next to them, I never noticed Dom get up. I never noticed him go to the bathroom. I never noticed him leave her at some point in the night. Yeah. That wasn't something that I can consciously remember,
So another witness at the house remembers Dom leaving Mackenzie on the couch and going somewhere else. But of course, that's something that Bubba, in his details, he's going to, not commit to. But there's other things that he will commit to 100% that he remembers very clearly. But Mackenzie and Dom being separated at some point that night and her sleeping on the couch and he had gotten up, that's not something that Bubba remembers. So, okay, noting that.
It could have been a short little thing while I was watching TV. He walked off to the bathroom and came back. I don't know, I just know, I know from my own two eyes, I never saw him like mysteriously just leave in the middle of the night and just like go missing and nobody knows where he's at.
But why would be the very first thing when you go inside that hospital? Why is the very first thing she asked you, were we fighting? Is that an indication
that's what everyone was saying at the time? Like,
but at the hospital? At the hospital?
So when we saw her in the hospital wasn't the day of. It was maybe later in the week or even the very next week after that. When I first went to where they crashed at, and the very first, I'm talking at noon, at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, the next day after the accident, when I went and saw where they crashed at, the first thing everybody was saying is that they were on some form of drugs or they were fighting. Those were the very first two things that everybody.
Well, there was drugs found.
Yeah.
Right.
So by Bubba's own admission, the first thing that other people were saying on the very same day that everyone was going there to the crash site, later in the day, obviously, drugs or they were fighting. But that's not what Bubba was thinking. And yes, I read a little bit of the detective notes in the beginning of the stream, like the first 7 minutes, we go through a little paragraph. And Rosie did go by the crash site per those notes.
Right, Dom. You just said Dom was known in the streets as a drug dealer.
Yeah.
Right. Obviously, people are on her story seeing her smoke weed. So I mean, that's not far off, no.
No. I mean, it made sense, but like knowing what we knew at the time and seeing them minutes before they crashed, it's like we didn't see any fight. And like to me, like the fact that Davion was there and they're in that like confined space, I don't think that they would start some fight in front of him like that, especially on like that level of degree. Like if it's to the point where.
And we know that Mackenzie wouldn't care who was around. If she had a problem with Dom or a problem in general, everyone was going to hear about it. So I don't even believe Bubba here that, you know, Davion was there, so they wouldn't have fought in front of him. Like, I don't believe that.
They're ultimately going to break up, and like, I don't think that they would have started that fight in the car with Davion being in there. They would have waited 6 more minutes.
You ever hear the saying a crime of passion?
Mm-mm.
Well, that's what happens, brother. That's basically what happens. An argument happens, a decision gets made, and unfortunately, she was in a vehicle that traveled up to 100 miles per hour, and that's what happened. I mean, because you can't explain. You know, the main thing is you got to explain how that gas pedal went to 100 miles per hour.
Yeah.
You know?
I can't explain it. I don't think the courts properly explained it. I don't think it can be explained really based off of the information that's been investigated thus far. You know what I mean? Like I don't think
it's a preponderance of evidence, right? It's the preponderance of it. Is it likely that she did do it, or is it likely that she didn't do it?
Yeah, it's all about like interpretation, I guess, at the end of the day, of certain situations. Like the only cold hard data that's there is the EDR data. That's the only thing that is like cold hard. We know that's what was said and done.
Well, you also see a video though of the car like a missile flying into the wall.
I mean, the video, but I mean, I'm talking like the video to me really isn't as much of cold hard proof as is the data, the physical numbers and the statistics that the car had. But like everything else outside of that is all just pure interpretation, in my opinion. There is really no cold hard facts that have been proven with an unreasonable doubt that that's how that went. You know.
Well, see, that's the thing. I mean, there's you know, there was 3 people in that car, and you know, there's only one alive to tell what happened in that car.
And at the end of the day, I say this: at the end of the day, like my stance on this whole situation is not if Mackenzie gets out of jail. It's not if she, you know, gets her sentence reduced. I don't really care for that. It's more of the fact that the story that I was told of how my 2 friends died, I feel like is not true, and there's no information, cold hard proof that shows me that that's true. You know, like
but why would you look at it?
My bad. 100% acceleration, in my opinion, like never, ever is meant. Oh yeah, that was intentional. There could be multiple other explanations on why there's 100% acceleration.
So he's taken the data and everything that they did with their experts on this case in regards to her Toyota. You know, they came back to there was nothing faulty about it. There was no malfunction. But of course, Bubba is going to hone in and argue that. So, which is what an expert would do in the next trial if there was one. Or, you know, her lawyers would rely heavily on the interpretation of the data. And it's like, these types of things are so computerized. It's very hard to see something that comes back as there's nothing faulty going on here and then trying to argue the data of like the computer. But Bubba, you know, it's just interesting. Like you're going to be climbing a very long uphill battle if they just keep sticking with like, well, you know, it could have been this and the data said this, but that could mean blah, 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 blah. And it's like, the refusal to throw Mackenzie any type of side eye, even, you know what I mean? Not only will he not go with the narrative that this was intentional, but he's always going to back up that she wasn't this wild person and try to relate Rosie to being like, well, that's just how girls are, blah, blah, blah. It's like, that's not healthy. So it sounds like his relationship with Rosie, which is still going on to this day, is not healthy. And I believe that they are bound by some secret in this case.
I felt like all of those avenues that specifically correlate with this case, they weren't properly fully investigated and discussed in court.
So you're more worried about the murder word or vehicular homicide word. Wouldn't you think that wouldn't matter to you? Because at the end of the day, she killed your 2 friends.
For me, if it was reckless driving.
So he's able to kind of comprehend and accept all this if she got reckless driving instead of murder. It's like, what? So if the crime is less severe, Bubba's for it. But why? That's what I keep going back to. Why would you want it not to be murder? You know, like it's like whatever their knowledge they're sitting on, for some reason they have to back that up. And also remember too, last week we heard him talk. So remember in the documentary, the friends that came forward with their Life 360, and the Life 360 app tracks people who are, you know, signed in and part of your group on the app, and you can see their movement and you can see vehicle movement as well. They estimated that he was that she was going around 90, and that was something solid that they used against her in the trial, right? Bubba was bashing the people that came forward with that information. It's like that was very vital, you know, noteworthy. Obviously, it was included in the PowerPoint that they showed to the judge at the trial. If something is showing a speed of a vehicle, you know, we had obviously the data that comes from the computer in the car, the forensic analysis of that. We have the video of the car going into the building like a missile. And then we also have the Life 360, which has the estimated, and we can't say it's 100% accurate because I've even seen it myself be a little bit off. Like it'll show somebody on my 360 is at this street, but then it uploads and all of a sudden they've jumped up a little bit. But at one point, it clocks her car going 90, but Bubba's annoyed that they came forward with that. And not only is he, hi Amy, good to see you. Not only is he annoyed that they came forward with the Life 360, he goes on to say that Dom never even liked one of the kids or something like that. He just talks shit, even about the victims. And it's really mind-boggling, like why?
If they were just genuinely going fast and seeing how fast they want to go on that road, I don't think them two boys were like, no, don't do that, don't do that. They were probably, yeah, let's see how fast we can get down this road. Now, if it was,
But no, so wait a minute. You know, hold on. Davion is your boy, right? Dom's your boy. Would they do something like that? Would they trust this girl at the wheel? Would they trust the girl at the wheel who you said the seat was pulled all the way up, right? They're going to trust this girl 5:30 in the morning to fly up the street to see what this Toyota Camry has. For what reason?
I don't know.
You think they would do that?
And here's why that body cam matters that we went through yesterday on Melly's channel. This question right here and what Bubba is talking about. He's basically throwing out the idea that Davion and Dom were in the car egging her on like, yeah, let's have some fun. Mind you, maybe I could get on board if they were like 15, 16, but you know, the problem also is Dom and I mean, it is what it is. He was selling drugs, weed, whatever. I just know about the weed. Hold on, let me look up something real quick. And everyone was asking Melly, like, why is this relevant? Why is this relevant? Because Bubba's over here talking about, oh, she's got it on members only. Okay, so you have to join to see the body cam. But basically, before the crash happened, Dom had multiple police interactions, which we know through the statements. I think even the brother talks about it in his police interview, I think. Like it was known because he was on the phone with his mom for both of them. But people were like, why is it relevant to see the victim's interaction with police? Because he was already on the radar, it seems, for whatever. They searched his trunk. They searched everything in his vehicle both times. So when Bubba says that Dom and Davion would be on board with driving recklessly, like, no, I don't think so, because they seemed like they were very much nervous and paranoid. And actually, I think even Bubba said in part 1 of our deep dive of this interview that very recently Dom had become kind of paranoid because of the recent pullovers. So why would they egg Mackenzie on while they're not wearing a seatbelt, for one? And she has the scale and the mushrooms tucked in her waistband. You know what I mean? So note that as well. Like it seemed like they were extra cautious and that they wouldn't just incite her to drive recklessly. I don't think. That's my opinion. You guys let me know. Like, do you think the theory that he's saying right now is possible, that they were all goofing around and it was reckless driving?
Have you ever drove fast with Davion?
I don't think that they were in the moment thinking, "Oh my God, we're going to die right now." I don't think that's what was going through their head. I know Davion's driven fast, like he's crashed multiple cars going 90, 100
Did
miles
he?
down the hallway.
Has he?
Yeah. He crashed his Dodge Dart. I can't remember if he crashed his Acura or not. I can't remember if he crashed or if it took a shit and it blew out on him. But yeah, Davion and all of them was like a really fast guy. He was really the car guy. I really loved fast cars, loud cars, all of that. So like knowing these two kids, like if she was genuinely just seeing how fast she could get down that road, I don't think that they were sitting there like, "Oh my God, we're about to crash."
But why didn't they hit the brake? Can you explain that?
From what my interpretation of the information in court is like, all I know is that the airbag is deployed beforehand. So I would want to know, my question, I guess, would be from wherever those airbags deployed at 90 or 80, 88 miles or 90 miles, however much the speed was recorded on the black box, 96 miles per hour, whatever it is, wherever that distance was that the airbags went off at, was that enough distance to slow down at that speed and be able to slow down and make a stop or make a controlled turn, left-hand turn around that bend? That's a question that I would want to know that was never mentioned in court.
But what about Kenzie saying that she took the corner? She remembers taking the corner, but she don't remember nothing else. Why is that? She don't remember hitting the gas?
From day one, she's told us that she turned down that road and everything went black. That's been the story that we've been told since day one. I know at some point she was like,
you don't think she's lying to you?
Not genuinely, no. I just don't.
You don't think she's leaving something out though?
No, not like.
So if she told you that.
And here's what I don't get too. So if she stands by, she remembers turning the corner and then everything went black. Has anyone been like, okay, well, back it up. Why were you going so fast? Because it's still like, if the last thing you remember is turning the corner and then everything goes black. Okay, so leading up to turning the corner, you remember then. So why exactly were you going that fast? You know what I mean? Like, and Bubba, like, you're thinking way too hard about this. Like him saying, like, that's what I would like to know. And they never showed that in trial. Like, oh, okay, yeah. Let's sow some more reasonable doubt. Like, but what is Bubba's angle to go so hard for this?
Like my thing is, if it's everything you're saying it is, right? Like they wanted to go fast up the road. Why wouldn't she just say that? Or why would it? So you just think that she blacked out right there? Like, and if she did have a medical emergency right there, then the car wouldn't have got up to 100, right?
Depends on what a medical emergency it is, I guess, in a way. But I mean, there's a lot of questions that
Yeah, and then he leaves it open, like, well, it depends. No. Like, for you and the Shirillas, it's always gonna depend. And people's perception, and it's like, I get that, but like, this seems, we see the video, her story doesn't really add up. She's talking about in her body cam through her secret language with her mom, can I tell them that I had a seizure? There was talk, I believe, from Dom's mother in a police interview. It's either hers or her brother's, or his brother's, I'm sorry, because she's in both of them. So she's got one solo and then she has one with Dom's brother. They mentioned how, like, talking about, like, a deer was mentioned at one point. So, like, there's been multiple things that they've tried to, like, use as, like, the reason why this happened. So
I can't certainly ask for sure. You know what I mean? Like, there's certain questions I'll never be able to be answered. But all I know is that, like,
do you think she owes you to answer these questions?
What'd you say?
You think she owes you to answer these questions? Like, if you did get a one-on-one with her, in the prison or something, and you say, hey, listen, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Did you get any of your memory back? Like, what happened? And here's the thing. So what would you like to happen to her as far as, like, time goes? What do you think was proper? Do you think she should have been tried as a juvenile? Do you think she should, like, if you was going to give her time, how much time do you think she should have got, if you will?
Whatever. I mean, whatever she legally gets charged with, I guess, at the end of the day. And I mean, it could be anywhere from 10 years to 6 years. I would say 6 years minimum, but my whole
So you think 6 years? You think 6 years was enough for that, Josh?
2 lives, 6 years. What?
You think that?
You asking me that?
Yeah.
Oh, so I mean, in all honesty, it depends. Like it's like I said, like if it was a reckless driving or involuntary manslaughter, 6 years could be reasonable for that. But like at the end of the day, the way I think of it, it's not really about how much time she's serving. Like that's not what matters to me. What matters to me is that like I want the world to low key like just know the truth. I want to know the truth. I want to know what happened in that car because the information I'm being fed and the information I saw just doesn't correctly add up with what I witnessed in my personal life. And then also on top of that, the evidence used in court can be proven wrong, and there's reasonable doubt that supports that evidence is not as cold hard evidence as they say it was at that time.
So go ahead, break some of that down.
So like with the evidence is like the whole planning the route out. Now I don't know if that was used in court. I know that was said in the Mean Grove Murders documentary.
Now what's up with that? The mother, I talked to Natalie. Natalie said that the judge just randomly blurted that out during a summation. But it was never used in court.
I remember it a lot more when it was in the Mean Girls documentary where they're like she did 7 dry runs or 3 dry runs or whatever. I remember it a lot more.
Yeah, I don't know if I believe all that.
Yeah, I don't really remember.
Do you guys know what the source of these I remember it, but now I've forgotten again. The source of her dry runs allegedly of this route that they are claiming she practiced, the route. Again, that's another detail. Even if there was evidence to show that she went down that road prior, leading up to the crash, like it's an interpretation. Like, would 12 jurors agree that that's premeditation and she was doing a dry run, or would there be somebody on the jury that could think, well, I mean, it's a small town, small area. She cuts through there, and they would show a pattern of it. It didn't end up that way at trial because, of course, it was a bench trial, just the judge. But I don't know that whole aspect. Like, I don't even need to include. I don't know. I guess they used that to kind of paint her intent. And remember, she says, all I remember is turning the corner, and I don't remember anything else. But I'm positive there was no intent. It's like, if you don't remember anything, how are you remembering like your intentions at the time?
I don't really remember the whole judge saying that. Like I remember the whole hell on wheels and her like going hard on her. But
the phone data. Okay, so it kind of like routes her, probably pinging off cell phone towers or whatever. But to be fair, just to play devil's advocate, maybe they would have shown a pattern of her using that route numerous times. But interesting that, Bubba is upset that they said that in the documentary and he's not onto it. Other people are kind of thinking that it's kind of not true, possibly too.
like the whole fact, like this whole thing of she practiced the route, she scouted the route out of it's just simply not true. Like that was a very common route. Everyone knew it. The parents admitted to it. Both Natalie and fucking Dom's parents have said it's a cut through. Everyone says it's a cut through. That's a known cut through. So that right there is wrong. The main piece of evidence that murder with intent is hanging off of. Like if this evidence was not there, they would have never been able to charge her with this. And that piece of evidence is
what evidence?
The evidence on the highway of when they were on the highway a week or 2 prior, and they say.
I agree, Alexa. I totally agree.
That she tried to crash the car, and they had a witness come in and say
you think that's what got her? You're saying that's what got her?
I think that's completely that's how they showed prior motive, like prior intent that she's tried to do this before. That this is of her character. That's how they portrayed it in court, and that's like really what I think sold the deal of. Okay, you can say as much as you want about text messages that they say back and forth, even though you don't get the full context, you don't get the full story of it. You can make whatever you want to make of that, but that's no cold hard proof to murder. Cold hard proof to murder would be, okay, I saw this guy at the gas station and I attempted to shoot him and I got away with it. And then a month later, I see the same guy at the gas station, I shoot him, cold blood, right? And they see previously on the cameras that I did that. That would show that, yes, I planned this out, that this was premeditated, that I was planning on doing this and I have tried doing this before. And my whole stance with that piece of evidence is, they always want to talk about the text messages between Dominic's mother and Mackenzie and about how she's saving face. And Mackenzie was already at home by the time she sent those text messages. Well, then why did she send a text message saying, come pick Dom up? And then Dom's mother responds in a manner of which she realizes Dom needs to come get picked up. Not that Dom has already been picked up and she's back at the house just texting bullshit to save face. No, like his mother's consciously reacting with normal responses as if all this is happening in the moment. Now, on top of that, that's all the text messages they talk about. They bring that up in the end of the documentary. I know on Christine Russo's podcast, she only talks about those, how she's trying to save face. But what I want to know and what I want to be.
So he's throwing shade at Dom's sister blatantly on JFK's channel. Wow. And he's basically saying that he doesn't even buy the hearsay, which again, we have to call it what it is. It was through the grapevine that Mackenzie had tried this prior. Whether you believe that or not, that's up to you guys. But what we are going to note is Bubba doesn't believe that. What do you know? He doesn't believe that this was, that the previous statements by people that Kenzie threatened to crash the car before. Bubba's saying that those texts and that those rumors aren't true. He's not buying it.
Investigate, and what I want to talk about is the text messages between Dominic and Mackenzie, where Dominic blatantly admits that he was trying to kill himself, and that if they were to crash that car on the highway, he would have been hurt first and she would have been hurt second, and that he physically just apologizes for it all. He constantly knows that he did that.
You think Dom could have potentially put his foot on the gas?
No, not like in this case. I'm not saying that like, oh, he was the one that crashed his car, had some reason to crash his car. But if we're going to use that as evidence to show that she was going to do this, then at least let's say the truth of it. Let's not flip it to just to play along with this narrative that she's.
So you think she got railroaded?
Huh?
And isn't it interesting that instead of just saying like, I'm not so sure I believe the hearsay about her threatening to crash the car with Dom in the car prior, instead of just saying that, he's got to include, which again, it is true. There are text messages between Dom and Kenzie, which we all know the toxicity between the two is an element to how this ended up the way it did. You know? But why can't he just say, I'm not so sure I believe the hearsay about, you know, there being threats from Mackenzie to do this with Dom in the car? Instead, he's got to bring up the text messages that Dom said that he wanted to self-delete. You know what I mean? Like, what is the point in bringing those? Like, he's trying to prove a point. I get it. But like, that didn't really prove his point of the hearsay. He's just bringing it up because like, for some reason, subconscious or conscious, I don't know, he's got to kind of throw the victims under the bus too. It's like he's done it in the past in this interview that we went through. You know, he made it clear that Dom was, you know, he told Netflix, but they cut it out. They didn't include it, that he told them that Dom was selling dope. And we're all like, dope? Like, that makes it sound like it was more than just weed. You know what I mean? So it was like these things that Bubba says, like even him throwing out like, well, now we have to, the deflection from the hearsay, the statements by witnesses in this case that have made sworn statements that they know of incidences where Dom was on the phone with them or whatever, and Mackenzie was threatening to crash the car. I'll crash this car or whatever. Instead of just disagreeing with that, he's got to bring up, well, if we're going to talk about things and blah, 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 like, why? Why are we doing this? That's true, Debbie. Premeditated could just mean seconds before something happens.
Yeah, for sure. 100%. Like, I remember the day Rosie went over there and was talking to Kenzie about it. And Kenzie was genuinely at like a loss of words if she should leave Dominic or not. Is that if he's ever going to do this again? Like, I mean, in the text messages between Dom and Kenzie, you can see how upset and how mad she was that they almost got into a car accident. So like, I see all this, and this is the evidence. This is supposedly the encounter and the piece of evidence that's their strongest piece in court. Their strongest piece.
But don't you think the strongest piece of evidence is that she hit the gas and took it up to 100 miles per hour?
Yeah, but
and regardless of what happened,
I don't think I've ever seen a court case ever or heard of one where someone just went in the court and said, okay, 100% acceleration, you intended to kill these people, go to jail. I think.
And again, like he basically said if she had gotten manslaughter, he would be okay with that. But then he'll, in the same breath, he'll argue all these little technicalities. Besides, like, leave intent and premeditation out of it, he'll argue every little thing. But then in the same breath, he'll be like, but maybe it was, reckless driving. It's like, which is it, Bubba? Like, do you even, wherever he falls, he doesn't know, but it has to be with what Rosie has told him to say and stick to the script. And whatever the Shirillas and Mackenzie are going with, he's got to stick with that too. It's very odd. If it was anybody besides some of the people who saw them last or supposedly drove past the crash site, if it was anybody else, I wouldn't really think too much into it. But this is one of the last people to see the victims alive. This is one of the people who is dating Rosie, who was non-cooperative. Bubba tried to get out of his police interview and go off to college. They had to chase him all the way out there for an interview, finally, months later.
There's always been a lot more investigation and things into it,
But that's the way they did it, right? That's the way it went down. They shaped it up, like you said, for a murder. The question is, why do you care if she, because in the end, what remains the same, whether it's murder or it's not murder, what remains the same, she killed both of your friends.
But the biggest thing about, and the most reason why I'm passionate, I don't think I ever got to this earlier on, is to me, it's not about the jail sentences. It's not about anything to do with that. It's solely about me knowing and me going to sleep knowing that the world knows how these two boys lost their life in the correct way, in the truth, and something that can be proven without a reasonable doubt. And everything that's used points towards that, and I feel like that wasn't done in this case. And
so basically, the way they worded it, they said that she was in the car. They were fighting for their life. The car went from drive to neutral. They were fighting for their life. The whole thing. You don't like that story. You don't want to believe that they were on the hell on wheels like they described.
Yeah,
You don't want to believe that.
I don't think that they provided enough evidence to show that. I mean, I would love for the day that they do show me some cold hard evidence that it does that. And like I said, and like you said, the only thing that is there is the EDR, and that just simply is not enough to make me believe that this was an intentional murder. I've never seen it done in any other cases. I don't know. I've never heard of this. I mean, you can look it up on Yahoo, Google, Chat GPT. You can look it up anywhere on any search engine. Does 100% acceleration equal intent? No, it doesn't. There's so many.
So Bubba's looked into this pretty deep. He just gave you a whole bunch of places to go and look that up.
Dozens of reasons. There's dozens of other things that go into investigations to further prove if it was intentional or not. And yeah, no, like for me, it's at the end of the day, is that like I get so mad when I sit here and I see people like she's going to be the next Gypsy Rose, and I just look at it and I'm like, well, whose fault is that? Whose fault is the one who called TMZ? Because I know it wasn't us, and I know it wasn't the Shirillas. So who called TMZ to make this global news? Who's the one that falsified evidence to further prove that she's this type of character and cause this case to be the way it is? Like if this was just another reckless driving, or if it was something as simple as that and not murder intent, she wouldn't be looked at as an next.
But who's the who? Who's the who? Who you referring to?
Mackenzie.
Who did that? Who went to TMZ and all that? Who are you talking about?
I think that was the prosecution or someone that was involved with all that. And I think they wanted to blow this case out the water.
So the father.
There was a girl in Strongsville 4 years prior to this incident.
See how, to me, it's really ballsy for Bubba to be like, and again, I'm all for questioning the process and, checks and balances, especially with cases and, with the number of innocent people who are probably still being convicted as we speak. Checks and balances are good. Corruption, obviously bad. But Bubba said earlier in this interview last week that he didn't even care when he found out if Mackenzie was alive or dead. So like you said earlier in chat, I don't know if I can find the comment. His own words earlier in this interview was he didn't even care if Mackenzie lived or died, but he's very pro Kenzie being innocent, which is odd. Right. Not only is he pro Mackenzie being innocent, but he's going to go as far as to say evidence was falsified and, the TMZ and the media gave her a trial. Like, he's basically trying to paint it as trial by media against Mackenzie because of some sort of corruption or, narrative that they had to go with. Like, okay, that's interesting. But you also, like, and when he says, and the reason why I get so mad about this is, yeah, like, why are you getting mad? You said that you didn't even care if she was alive or not because your friends had died and, you didn't really care. So it's like, it's all over the place with him. Her family has brainwashed him. I honestly think it's more likely that Rosie has brainwashed him. And then it falls into, he'll go out with whatever the Shirillas have to say too.
I won't name names, but she was in a car. She was underage. She was 16 at the time. She only had one passenger. She had 5 passengers in that car. They were going 75 miles per hour down a 25 mile per hour road. She crashed into a tree. One girl flew out the car. They ran her over, killed her. The other girl had to get a full face transplant, multiple face transplants. That girl never saw a bar a day behind bars. Never. They said they went in court.
How old was she? How old was she?
16. She was 16. And it came out to be that a deer jumped in front of them. But the rumor on the street and what the girls that survived there that night said is that they were street racing. And it just never went that down that way.
Yeah, but
so it's like my thing is that, like, if this was
referring to
Mackenzie.
Who did that? Who went to
It is that a lot of people just feel like, something happened. Either like, she woke up that morning, she didn't see him in the room with her, and they left that house, and she was, hey, she was on him. Like, tell me what happened. Tell me where you were. What were you doing? Listen, I've had it.
I was thinking about this earlier too, because where we live, we have to drive that route that they take, not down Progress, but all the way up to Progress. We take that every single day of our life, and I'm very interested. I wish they would release, if they have any, like, camera footage from the 2 lights that they passed by on Whitney. Like, one of them is a road that, like, it's always a red light when you pull up to. And like me and Rosie were talking, we're like, well, would you think maybe that you'd be able to see, like, in the windshield, people flicking their arms, people fighting and stuff? There's certain stuff like that.
Even a ring cam. If somebody had a ring cam.
There's stuff like that where it's like, I would be amazed to see that information. And I guess at the end of the day, like, all of these theories, reckless driving, medical episode, like, I wish that was investigated and a little bit harder, and the defense may make an effort to kind of to push more information on those theories. It doesn't seem like he really tried pushing either of those. I mean, I think the reckless driving is what he tried to push for the most.
Do you drive fast?
Yeah. I mean, she gets on my ass all the time because I'm going 25, 30 miles over the speed limit everywhere.
Have you ever? So you drive fast?
Yeah.
So are you being biased because you like?
Oh, so he's a criminal. Just kidding. But when you think about it, like, okay, so he's okay with breaking the speed limit law. What else would he be okay? Oh, and also he didn't want to have a police interview for some reason and went away to college. Rosie didn't even want to speak with police. Okay, noted. Oh, and remember earlier we discussed tonight, he's talking about that concert or whatever that Mackenzie went to and knowing that you could tell that the singer, rapper, whatever was on coke and you could just tell. This is all stuff that Bubba has come out and said. So I'm just painting a bigger picture. Ironic that was Paul's first time hosting a party that Rosie and Mackenzie planned and happened to be right there near the crash site. Also noted.
Like to go fast? You're a gearhead? What kind of truck do you drive? Let's talk.
I drive an 08 Chevy Silverado.
And what you got in there? 5.7 and LS1?
4.3. It's a piece of shit, man. It's a piece of shit.
Wait, that 4.3 is a good engine, though, my brother.
Yeah, it's good. It's giving me no mechanical issues whatsoever.
No, that's a good body damage. Yeah. It's a good truck though. But so you like the speed. So are you being biased thinking that if that was you in that situation and you're thinking like along the lines if that was you? Because this is what happens. They made an example out of it. That's just what it is. The question is, the biggest question I have, do you feel that there was corruption? Now, we just seen an interview with the dad. And the dad said the Russo name in Cleveland, Strongsville, if you have that last name, it's kind of like the Kennedys in Boston. I don't know if you've seen that interview of Mackenzie's dad.
I saw that.
What do you feel about the, you're having back and forth things with Christine, right? What's your take on her? You want to say anything to her right now? She's watching.
Yeah, I guess. And two things is, I don't appreciate people that don't know me lying about my relationship with members involved in this incident. And number two, when I did speak about it, specifically in her comment section, as soon as I brought up information that they didn't really want to talk about, they just threw false allegations at me and alleged me of doing some heinous, nasty, disgusting crime that I would never think of in my life.
What's that?
I ain't going to say it because I don't want that to be a rumor out there. You know what I mean? But I have screenshots. I mean, I can send you the screenshots personally if you want to see the accusations. I also have screenshots when they did it to somebody else as well when they were talking to them.
Who did this?
Christine Russo, Nicole Russo, all those like cousins, all the cousins she talks about, man, they are working overtime on.
So he's referring to Dom's sister, the unhinged sister who has been going around on the media. She was in the documentary and has her own channel. So in case anyone's wondering, the rumor that he's referring to, I'm not sure, but I will say that there is the rumor out there that not only did they drive by the crash site, he and Rosie, but they went to this crash site and stole items. Now that, of course, is a rumor, but I'm curious if that's a rumor that he doesn't really want to highlight. But, we've highlighted it. We talked about it last week with Melly. Like, where is Dom's cash? They found bullets under the seat. Is there a handgun missing? The screen that they noted in the detective notes in the camera footage of them turning down the road. Is there a laptop missing, an iPad? Like, we don't know.
On making sure the narrative is what the narrative is, and those are the two things I'd like to say is that, like, I don't find it a very good tactic to just automatically start throwing out false allegations. When I say allegations, man, I'm not talking about bullshit allegations. I'm talking about allegations that could ruin somebody's entire life.
So why are you spending all this time white knighting for Mackenzie? Why don't you get a defamation lawyer? If these allegations are so detrimental to you and you have to, address a victim's family member on a platform right now that that she's on because she has her own YouTube channel, like, and you're talking about comment section, like, so you're panning her social media like pretty closely to be referring to her comment section, so like, and guess what happens if you do open up a civil lawsuit against somebody? Well, now their lawyer can take your phone data and they can open a whole can of worms. What if those can of worms kind of pointed to this rumor being more true? And it doesn't clear you. Like, I don't think Bubba understands, like, every little thing that he thinks he's talking about. Like, for instance, you guys already noticed when he was comparing Mackenzie's case to the other case, he said that the girl had to get a full face transplant. And it's like, we know that that's not what it was. I think he means reconstructive surgery.
Just because it was said one time. Just because it was said one time. Could have no facts behind it. Could have nothing behind it. But the simple fact that it's put out there could ruin somebody's life. And there's been screenshots where they've done that 2 to 3 different times to different people that are
2 to 3 different times to different people. So they're following this so closely.
Defending Mackenzie. And so those are two things I guess I would like to say and get out there.
But you're not defending Mackenzie. You're just saying you don't think the trial was fair and she was being charged right and it's not murder. You think that they hit the gas and something else happened. Yeah,
I don't think that. There's just so many things that tells me the fact that Davion was in the car, the fact that they were only in the car for 4 minutes. They were 6 minutes away from their house where they could easily have fought in their bedroom. He could have easily kicked her out of the house, thrown all her shit out and called it a day, not have to deal with her in that confined space of a car. Like, these kids were smart, you know what I mean? And like, I just think that like, it just, if there was something he found on her phone or there was something that came about and he was confronting her about it, I feel like that would be in evidence. Anything that could be used of those sorts would be in evidence, and none of it was in evidence. So like, I just don't know where like this whole fight thing came from. Like every single witness, every single eye encounter, every single piece of information we have from that very day tells a completely different story. So it's like,
Technically, that's not true. Let's hear that again. He's saying every single witness and everyone that he's talked to, you know, basically don't go with this whole fight theory.
on her phone, or there was something that came about and he was confronting her about it. I feel like that would be in evidence. Anything that could be used of those sorts would be in evidence, and none of it was in evidence. So like, I just don't know where like this whole fight thing came from. Like every single witness, every single eye encounter, every single piece of information we have from that very day tells a completely different story. So it's like,
And it came out that there were people initially who were talking about a fight that had happened at the house. So when he says that Christine and Dom's cousin and all them are working overtime to keep some narrative out there, more deflection, Bubba? Because it really seems like you're working overtime on behalf of Rosie also to keep some narrative out there. If you guys listen to the police interviews, there were, and when we go through them, the statements and stuff, like there were people who first said that there was talk of a fight that took place at Paul's house before they left. And then they changed they backtracked and didn't go with that theory anymore. But here he's saying like there was no, witnesses saying there were fights. It's just like, don't play dumb. You're telling me you didn't hear about the first rumors that were going around that there was a fight? Hi, Diva girl.
I don't know how they were able to manufacture this whole story. Oh yeah, they got.
You do know what Christine is going through though, right? She lost her brother,
Yeah.
And this is what she's fighting for right here. I mean, we donated some money to the cause. She does great work. She's very loyal to her brother. This right here. What can you tell us about that memorial?
By the way, I do have the sister's petition in the description box. So if you want to sign her petition, you can find the link there.
Down there, right?
Yeah, I've been to his grave a bunch of times. Yeah, his was always very lit up. It's always been like that. It was always lit up. Davion,
and that's loyalty, right?
Before the dirt settled on Davion's, that's what Davion's looked like as well. And then once it settled, they got the headstone and whatnot.
But that's loyalty, right? You can understand her loyalty, right? But you're saying that she's out of line because she's saying shit that ain't true.
Yeah, I think that, and I mean, I know. So she went on a podcast and said that I said very disrespectful, nasty things about Dom on the documentary. And from what I can remember that I've said, it was nothing that was like disrespectful to him. It was more of like, they asked me simple questions like, okay, his song is called Drink and Zaza. What is drink and what is Zaza? Drink is lean. Zaza's weed. It's that simple. What did Dom do what was his job? I said what his job was, right? I told him about the story.
This was on the Netflix?
I said he was a dope dealer.
You said that? I didn't catch that.
No, they cut it out. It all got Christine had to cut it out.
Oh, they cut it out. Okay.
She admits on her podcast that they got to see it in October.
And again, like anyone I know that is talking about dope, like they're not talking about weed. So, and then of course Netflix cut it out, but Bubba's got to bring it up. You know what I mean? And let everybody know what he had said. Even though Netflix was like, yeah, we're going to cut that out. Like, why are we bringing that up? Yeah, apparently it was on the editing floor.
She had a bunch of editing requests and they took it all out.
But why would you say that though? Does that help?
They came to us saying that was already going to be well established in the documentary. Like we all hesitated, me, Rosie, when we were
So Bubba, you were talking to the producers and editors about that being established. They had told us that was going to be well established. Why did you want to make sure that it was established that Dom was, quote, dealing dope?
asked that question, we hesitated, and they were like, no, it's going to be already going to be established in the documentary.
Can I back you up a little bit? So you said, right, you talked about how the police were rolling up to him, right, in the black Cadillac. You said that Kenzie was going to, drop a dime on him. So right, and you just told me right now that accusations and could ruin your life, right? And here you are going to Netflix talking about a dead man who can't defend himself. You don't see the reason why she's pissed?
No, I could definitely see that. I could definitely, respectfully, I could see why certain individuals may feel either ashamed or not like that certain information is coming out. But as a friend and as doing what I wasn't going to go on this documentary and like just make up a bunch of bullshit and make up a bunch of bullshit stories of what
You said a dope dealer though? You called him a dope dealer?
Yeah.
Damn,
Yeah.
man. That's
Get out there, Bubba.
You could have said a little bit of weed, man.
No, because I mean, knowing Dom, he would be ashamed of his legacy being that he was wanting to go to the military. Oh, he was wanting to go to the military. Bull fucking shit. That boy was.
What? So you're going to talk about what Dom would want his legacy to be? And that he would be upset that people are talking about the military and how he wanted to join. What the heck? And here, I mean, literally, you did not have to say dope dealer. He won't even try and be like, yeah, I guess, maybe it wasn't the best phrase to use. No, he doubles down. He would be ashamed that everyone's trying to paint his legacy as him trying to join the military and better himself. So he would rather be called a dope dealer on Netflix, you're saying?
Never going to shave his hair bald. Never was going to do that. He never had any intention of going to the military. And I think knowing him, I think he would be more ashamed of the world looking at him like that as who he actually was. And that's just my personal opinion as a friend. I mean,
as a friend, you think it would have been better for us to know him as a dope dealer and you wanted to make sure Netflix was going to well establish that? This doesn't make any sense. And you're hoping, or you were wishing, that Mackenzie got less of a charge than murder. And you also want us to know that there was no fight that occurred at the house before they left. Got it, Bubba.
There's no one in this world that's really going to change my opinion on that.
Oh, yeah, and you also want us to know that you guys didn't go to the crash site at all when the car was still there.
Knowing these guys and knowing how passionate they were with the things that they were endeavored in and whatnot, And I mean, like I said, it doesn't bother me.
That's what she's mad about?
Well, let me finish this. Because,
go ahead. Sorry.
So at the end of the day, when I heard that was cut out, I didn't care. I don't care. It's okay that like I said, I respectfully know why that no one would want that on a Netflix documentary, right? I respectfully know that. But the problem I have now, and this is the problem I have, is that it got cut out and it got removed out of respect and wishes for loved one involved. Perfectly respectable, perfectly fine. But for people to come out and then talk about what I said, but not actually say what I said, and call me a liar for it when I know I didn't lie and I have proof showing that all those stories that I told and everything I told is real. Now I have a problem with someone going in front of the whole world trying to call me a liar about things.
So I'm assuming he's referring to Dom's family who were trying to backtrack that all that was true. Whatever. It's like, Bubba, you can't realize that they're just trying to protect their brother. Bubba, you can't realize that they're grieving. Or they're handling this their way. You're mad that you didn't get credit to bring it to the internet or to the world that he was dealing. Like, it sounds to me like he's upset. Netflix cut that out. And then then there's the sister trying to say that these rumors are true or not true, whatever she said, Bubba's upset about. Like, this is all just so off, especially when he's talking about, wanting it to be well established in the Netflix documentary that he was selling drugs. It sounds like he lost money. Yeah, he has something very personal, and I see you guys' comments in chat too, against Dom, and some loyalty towards, obviously, Rosie and Mackenzie. Everyone else he's disagreed with on things. He's disagreed with Paul, whose house it was at. He's disagreed with the people who brought the Life 360 information forward, those kids that he went to school with. He's disagreed with the forensic analysis of the vehicle, and that he disagrees that there's no way a medical episode could have happened. He also disagrees that Mackenzie and Dom fought a lot. Like, what in the world? Did something happen between like Bubba and Mackenzie, and then now he's got to go along with Rosie because that's his girlfriend and he made the mistake? I don't know. Again, I'm just talking out loud, but like, what is it? What is his deal with this disgust with the victims and this loyalty with Mackenzie? Is the loyalty to Mackenzie because of his loyalty to Rosie? I don't know.
You know, you could have just left it at it got removed and that was it. It got removed. It's not in there no more. We don't got to worry.
Can I give you a jewel? Can I give you a jewel?
Yeah.
You can't control people, places, and things, my dude.
Yeah. No, I guess that's the only like sort of problem that I have. Like that's the only thing. That's the only problem. Is I just hate being called a liar when I'm not a liar, and I know that I'm not a liar. You know. I guess that's just the only problem that everything else I don't have a problem with. I don't care. I support it. You know, the whole Dom and Davion law thing. I go for it. Go ahead. You know, it does not make a difference to me in my life if she would be able to profit off this or not. You know, all the other things that she's advocating for, it's fine. I have no problems with it. Do your do. You know, if that's what you want to do, then that's what you want to do. I just don't like the fact that I was personally being called out for things that I wasn't lying about, and that the world will never know what those things are. You know. So like, how am I supposed to now defend myself?
What's the other things that you lied about? What else did they cut on the cutting room floor that you could think of?
Man, they cut everything. They cut every explanation to every question that they asked.
Which one you think really pissed her off? If you know, because you talked about the one with the dope, right? Which
probably those.
You know,
those were really the only questions they asked me about, Dom. I mean, they like the whole thing about me saying that he's like Master Yoda and he's so wise. That all comes from like being with parties where, you know, something happens or like police get involved or there's something sketchy going on. It's like he always knew what to do. He always knew what to do so we weren't going to get fucked over or something, you know, like for instance, that night of the accident, we look outside and like I said, it wasn't a cul-de-sac, right? It was the road. The road ended right there. It was Paul's house and he has one house and it's the end of the road. Kenzie was parked in between Paul's house and that house in the grass right there, right? Mm-hmm. At some point in that night, some car comes up and pulls up behind Kenzie's car. Sits there for about 10, 15 minutes. We didn't see anyone get out the car. We didn't see anything like that, but it just sketched us out a little bit that it's not a cul-de-sac. Like, why are they pulling something? Why are they just sitting behind her car? So we end up asking Dom, we're like, yo, like, is that police, bro? Should we bring the bong inside? He goes, yeah, bring everything inside. So we bring everything inside and he closed all the blinds to the windows, waited 30 minutes and the car was gone. It's times like that where I was like, he was very wise. He knew every.
But you just said 20 minutes ago that you believed it's possible that Dom and Davion were in the car egging her on to speed and to F around behind the wheel. So which is it? Is he wise and cautious of police and you know, got things together in that sense? Or is he reckless, young, and would want Mackenzie to drive that fast? Like, again, Bubba, like, you really show your ass in this interview. I hope you know that.
Step to take in majority of the situations we ever got placed in, you know? So that's what that whole thing of me saying, oh, he's like Master Yoda, he's so wise, you know, he just knows his shit about everything, you know? And I have another buddy like that that's from Virginia who's like, you ask him any question of any topic, he probably has an answer to it, you know? And if you look up that answer, it's damn near fucking 100% accurate.
You smoke a lot of weed, right?
Yeah.
Do you think that you would have been hanging out with Dom if you didn't smoke weed?
Well, at that time, I wasn't the biggest pothead. At that time, I wasn't. I really became a stoner in college, like dealing with all this stuff, being away from home, being around new people. That is really what turned me into like a big smoker. And I turned to smoking to deal with those emotions and those things that followed after the accident. And I've just kept that habit all the way up till now.
What is Kenzie saying inside jail right now? What's in the appeal? Like, what does she say to you? Like, does she point to certain things on the phone with you, or when you do talk to her, like, this is where they messed me up, this is the problem, and this is what I'm focusing on? What's the focus of the appeal? Do you know?
I mean, over the last 4 years, we've talked about every single appeal and what consists in it and the details and the information. But if we ever just like call her or see her, we don't sit. I mean, it's been 4 years now.
Well, you could call her.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I'm set up to call her, but I know you're
But
already call her. I'm set
you
up
can
to
call
her.
them. Really? They do that shit? Damn.
Yeah, you can do
You can call
FaceTime,
up the.
FaceTime, yeah, at any point in time, yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah,
You
I know
can
the
call
girl,
her?
at least here in Ohio, I think the girls' prison, they have tablets. The men's prison, I think they have phones or something like that. Like they
That's
all
fucking
have devices
wild.
where they can like talk to each other amongst inmates and stuff like that, you know, from other correctional facilities and stuff.
That
They
shit
can
is wild, man.
Yeah, they can conversate back and forth. But no, like to this day, like it's not like if we ever, whenever we do see her, whenever we do talk to her, it's not like all we're talking about is this case. You know, it's been 4 years. We've kind of
But what's
addressed.
the pin? Does she say something? Is there something you could tell us that she's pinned, that she's aiming towards in this appeal that can make us all say, "Ooh"?
And knowing that all her phone calls are out there, I find it interesting that like, so you go to bat so hard for Mackenzie, but like you're not on these calls with her. Is that because you know they're recorded?
Like, okay, she got a raw deal on that.
No, genuinely, bro. Like she's really kept out of that type of stuff. Like she doesn't. I don't know if she knows to the fullest extent what's going on legally. I'm not too sure how much she knows about that. I know at the end of the day, like her story has always been the same, that she can't remember what happened. So like if it was a medical incident or if it was reckless driving, she's never been quick to like be like, oh yeah, let's go for that. Like that might be it. Nah, she's always been like, I don't know. Like I genuinely don't know. And whatever information comes out is information.
That's a lie, because there was rumors that a deer ran out, and then there was rumors that she was trying to talk with her mom on the body cam about, can I tell them I had a seizure?
Information that
And
they
you
find.
truly believe that 4 years later, you truly believe that.
Yeah, there's never been a time where I've like sat there and been like, damn, is she lying to me? I just don't think, genuinely, from like the state that I've seen this girl in the hospital when she came home, like the remorse is there. The remorse is 100% there. And like if she were to try to kill Dom, I don't think it would be in that manner, number one. And number two, I don't see her like lying about that. I don't know. Like I don't.
So then if you were going to picture her killing Dom, what manner would you picture it to be?
I genuinely just think that she doesn't remember. And like there's things that can back that. Not only like you can take the whole medical condition theory out the picture. The simple fact of like the injuries found on her and like how much trauma her body went through, that could easily make sense that she doesn't remember. Like no, like
Yeah, but would that make her suicidal, right?
What? Like
that would make her suicidal, right? And she did that. She 1000% is suicidal.
Yeah, I mean,
there's no denying that, right?
I would say that would have been a suicide before she tried killing them purposely because of the fight. Maybe, yeah, I could see that happening before a fight. Like I could see suicide happening before a fight, even though I've never seen no signs of suicide, and I've never heard of any signs of suicide. Like I still would believe
Self-destruction
that before she would just wake up and like get in a fight and want to murder him right now.
So he just said he never saw any evidence or signs of her wanting to self-harm. But then he also said earlier that he didn't believe, and he doesn't understand why people believe that a fight broke out, because there's no evidence of that. So how come you can't imagine there being a fight that broke out, because you say there's no evidence of that? But then in this instance, you can picture it, even though there's no evidence of that happening. Like,
Then and there, you know, and then Davion's just in the car and she's just not even thinking about him. I don't think that is how that went at all.
So this has anything to do with your girlfriend Rosie? If you wasn't with Rosie, do you think you still stay on that side?
Yeah. I'm a grown ass man, and that's another thing too. Like Dominic was a grown ass man. He can make grown ass thoughts, and like I know that there's some information, like the whole thing with blackmailing him to the police could have made him stay around or make him sway his decisions. You know, just sway what he was thinking. But at the end of the day, like we're both grown ass men, and we'll never ever in our life let some woman like dictate our thoughts or how we feel. You know, and like I said, I don't know. I don't know truly to the fullest extent how bad Dom felt about her like saying all this shit about her blackmailing him to the police. I don't know how seriously he took it. I don't know any of that. I just know what I've seen on text messages.
You said he was paranoid.
It was never made a worry in person. It's never like he was always worried about her, or like was always like walking on thin ice and had to watch what he had to say around her. I never experienced that, you know.
What do you feel about her dad doing this interview? You know, he said the Russo family, right, their name. So that is a thing, right? And so let me just say this. When did you start getting the cold shoulder from the Russo family? Was that early on, or were you around them going to the memorials? Like, was everybody together? Because at one point, everybody was together, right?
Nah, no one ever reached out to us. Like, it was kind of shitty, man. Like, I don't know. Like, I felt like I was waiting for them to, like, reach out in a way. I don't know. I guess at that point in time, I didn't know if I should
Why would you be waiting for Davion's family to reach out to you when they're grieving? This whole aspect of him not talking to the victims' families too after it all happened. Like, and remember, he used to play football with Davion.
reach out or if I was waiting for them to reach out, you know? And it just never got to that extent where I've never shared a word with any of the Russos except for his mom at one occasion. I'll tell you that in a second. But yeah, I've never talked to his brothers, never talked to Christine's sister. I've talked to Davion's sisters. I've talked to his parents. But yeah, no, I don't know. They never had any interest to hear what we had to say, I guess.
When did you first start doing this Netflix doc? Like, what year was that? Was it a couple years ago?
Imagine going to talk to Netflix before you ever talk to the victims' families. And we do know that Bubba talked to Davion's dad eventually because he wanted to walk through Davion's room and have access to it so that he could, as part of the grieving process. But then he never brought that up again. Like, he mentioned that in his police interview, but then never brought it up again in any of these other interviews or in Netflix.
Man, yeah, a year or two ago, I'd say.
A year or two? Is it 12 months or 24? What would you say? 18 months, maybe? A year and a half?
Yeah, year and a half. Solid. I would say solid a year and a half.
So a year and a half, right? So this been going on, right? Before she made the podcast, you always felt there was a division, right?
Oh yeah, 100%. 100%. They ordered in court. I'm pretty sure they ordered in court that anyone that talked to Mackenzie at that time isn't allowed to talk to the families. They were like,
so would you like to talk to Christine?
Not his sister, no, because I know that I don't know her. I know that she wasn't as relevant as some of the other family members that I know of. Like, I know his mom and I know Angela. Like, if there's anyone that I would want to talk to, it would be Angelo.
So Angelo is Dom's brother. His police interview is on my channel, enhanced audio. Really interesting. But he doesn't want to talk to Christine because she's not as relevant.
It would be his brother Angelo, because I know that he was the closest with these two.
What about them?
All of them.
You know,
you said you talked to her mom, right? Go ahead,
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, I mean, and that's surprising to me because, I mean, we're talking to you who, you know, spent the last 6 hours of his life with him. You know, why wouldn't they want to reach out to you?
I don't know. And like
Does
I
that
said,
make you upset?
I had the blessed opportunity to talk to Davion's family, because here's the thing. So when Davion first passed, his parents were on vacation, right? And like that vigil that's in the documentary, my nipples out, you can see me with my nipples out and stuff. And we're all sitting there crying and all that, right? And
you said your nipples out?
Yo,
yeah, I had a cut off tank top, like a football shirt that we cut to wear under our pads. And absolutely not. Shitty, you know what I mean? You weren't trying to make it look pretty. And you know, sometimes they'd go in right there to where, you know, something's hanging out or whatnot. But that video of all of us where they crashed at, all the kids.
So you had a nip slip?
Yeah. I didn't even notice that. I didn't notice that until my
What's one thing life taught you? If you take your top lip and connect it to your bottom lip, you will shut the fuck up.
That. But nah, so when he passed, his parents were in North Carolina. And all I was told was that they are planning on sticking out the rest of their vacation. I can't remember if it was another week or another 2 weeks. They were sticking out the rest of their vacation because they had distant family in and they wanted to spend the time with them. And I think August 9th or August 8th is the day that they came back. They ended up, I think they were supposed to be gone for 2 weeks, but they ended up coming back after a week, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember correctly. And like, as soon as they got home, I was one of the first people they talked to. We went to the house. I told them that no, I didn't see them drink. I didn't see them take any drugs. I told them, from what I know, I can assure you that their toxicology reports will come back clean, maybe other than marijuana, because I know that stays in their system for an extended period amount of time. But like, I told them the same story I told you guys that night, that there's no fighting, that we didn't see none of this.
Thank you, Eva. Thank you so much for the nerdy raid. I really appreciate that. If you guys aren't subscribed to Nerdy Addict, you should definitely subscribe to him, follow him on X, and he runs his channel with his significant other, Eva. So thank you so much for sending the chat over here. I really appreciate that.
They ended up talking about, you know, like kind of how Davion's dad was like, oh, if you show me your friends, I'll show you your future. They were kind of talking about that, and they were talking about how they were always getting on Davion's ass for the people he was hanging out with and the decisions he was making. And he was always going to court for speeding tickets. I remember he got caught up because he drove a bunch of underage girls home while they were drunk at a party. He was completely sober. He just gave them a ride home. But since he was older, they tried charging him with like influencing them to drink, even though he wasn't drunk.
Who's that?
Davion. So I know, yeah. So he had lots of interactions with the law and stuff, and that I could see why his parents would think he was going down the wrong hole. From what I've seen, they said in the documentary, I don't know if it's in the documentary, I think it's in the interview, that it was after Davion suffered from his leg injury in high school football. After he suffered from an injury, he turned to drugs and turned to things like that. And I'd like to say that's not true. Like he was been smoking before that. I mean, since I would say junior year of high school, we were all smoking carts. So it's not like he got hurt his 6th game of the season and he turned to drugs to cope with that. That's not true.
Like, why does he have to make sure everybody knows the timeline of even when Davion starts dabbling with smoking or whatever drugs they were using? Like, why is it? It's just completely unnecessary. Like, is he like rambling just to deflect from him and Rosie? Is he jealous of Davion and Dom? Like, why are we doing this? I don't understand why he's got it. Is it because he's trying to say the narrative that's out there in regards to Netflix and the Hulu episode? Is he trying to say, like, just don't believe what they're saying because it's not the truth? And then he's bringing up all this other stuff to kind of say, like, see, they said this, but it was actually this. Like, what the heck?
True. He was always smoking before that and smoked after that. And when it comes to like, when his dad was like, show me your friends, I'll show you your future. Like the friends that he was involved with, when all of these court things were going down, when he was getting in trouble with the law, when he was coming home late and getting in trouble from his family, coming home smelling like weed, that wasn't during the era of when he was hanging out with Dom and Kenzie. Like when he was living with me, when he got kicked out and living with me, at the end, like towards May, is when we really started hanging out with Dom and Kenzie. It was at the end of May is when he moved out towards graduation. I know we like I said, the first time we physically all were together as a group was at prom. And we have pictures of that when we were at prom. But Kenzie and Dom ended up taking their own like party bus and stuff. Like we weren't close enough. They was just them two on a party bus. We didn't even get invited on the party bus. We weren't that close with them at that time of prom. And so when David was getting in trouble and that his parents weren't liking his friends, the friends he wasn't liking it wasn't any of us. It was the friends of Tyler Proctor. It was those kids that he was really hanging out with. And at the time of living with me, he was always over those kids' house late at night. I'd have to go pick him up and all that stuff. So it's like they kind of use that to make us look bad. But like when he was going through all those things in his personal life, it wasn't with this friend. It was with a whole other friend group, you know? And so there's just a lot of misinformation. There's a lot of misinformation.
So you don't talk to Davey.
So he wants to make it clear that like it wasn't their group that were the bad influence, that this stuff was happening prior. So it's always like a way for him to clear himself and Rosie and Mackenzie in a lot of instances of any wrongdoing. And I agree. The prince said they have something to lose and they just keep putting the spotlight on themselves. He's telling us there is something more and he doesn't even realize it. Yeah, keep him talking. JFK does a great job of that too. Like, even when he's kind of like, so you didn't care if Mackenzie lived or died? You know, like he'll put him on the spot. But then Bubba doesn't even realize it. Like he just keeps going on. And it's like everything that you just keep saying, we're piling up in our own mental notes. And it's very suspicious. It's odd. You know, there's obviously deflection, jealousy, possibly. But there's been a lot of victim shaming.
John's father no more.
No, so we were always open to talking. We had nothing to hide. I mean, if they called us at any moment in time, we'd sit there and talk for however long they wanted to talk to.
we had nothing to hide. We didn't say you had anything to hide. Why would you throw that in? That's interesting you did that.
But no one ever made an effort to reach out. And after I talked to Davion's parents,
It's a two-way street, though, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's definitely a two-way street. But after I talked to Davion's parents initially,
I'm sorry, but like you're their child's quote unquote friend, one of the last people to see them alive at the very least, and you're expecting them to reach out to you. And then you want us to know that you didn't reach out to them, and it's not because you had anything to hide.
they gave me like one of his old swimming medals. And that's
oh,
all
he's a swimmer.
Yeah, he was a swimmer back in the day. Back in elementary school, he was a swimmer.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so they ended up giving me one of those medals, and
That's dope, man. That's a big deal, bro.
Well, then Divine, she comes up to me, and I can see if I can find a picture. I think he has it on in the picture of him with his blue Kia, and you can see in the background he's at a gas station, and there's one picture of him sitting on the trunk of the car. And I think in that picture you can see that I can find a picture somewhere where he has this, like, it's a fake diamond, like NASA rocket chain. It's like a big NASA rocket, and the whole chain's diamond, but it was fake diamonds. It wasn't real diamond. And Divine ended up coming up to me, and she goes, like, I know how close you were with Davion. I took this as soon as I got home, but I feel like you deserve it. I was like, thank you. Like, that means a lot to me. I don't really want to take this. Like, if you really want it, you take it. You know, like, you're his sister. You can have whatever you want of his. If you really are comfortable giving this to me, I'll take it. So she's like, no, go ahead and take it. So I ended up taking it. I went home that night, went to sleep. Everything was normal. I woke up to a text message from Davion's dad saying that Davion was in debt and had lots of debt collectors reaching out for the chains and for certain accessories and certain things that he had bought, and that they need everything back to see if they can give some of it back to reduce that debt. And that's all I heard. So I had to go back the next day and get back the medal, and I had to get back the chain. And that was the last time. That was the last time I ever talked to him. And then
so now again, we're victim shaming by letting everyone know that Davion had a lot of debt. And now you're also shaming the family for asking for pieces back. Like, bro, unfortunately, when people die, these are loose ends that you kind of have to tie up. Like, you don't got to take it personal. And like, why are you taking a material item so personal, like, and then you shit on his memory, like, no problem. Like, it can't be sentimental value. Is it the material that you wanted? This chain or whatever? Like, it's weird.
I would say she got sentenced.
So then you gave back his items to the family, and then you never talked to them again?
And then randomly out of nowhere, Divine hit us up wanting to talk, and we had a brief phone call. We explained to her our point of views and how we feel. And she was like, okay, like, can I come over this weekend at some point and we can have a sit down and like talk? And we're like, yeah, that's perfectly fine. And that weekend we told her, we're like, we'll hit you up Sunday because we're going to Vegas. We're going to be out of Vegas Friday, Saturday. We'll be home Sunday night because I got to go to work at Monday in the morning. So we'll hit you up as soon as we're back home. So we go do our little thing in Vegas. We come back and we're blocked. We're blocked on Facebook. We're blocked on Snapchat. We're blocked on Instagram. We're blocked on everything. And that was the last time I ever really tried reaching out and talking to any of them. Divine has bounced around different jobs. I've seen her at 1, 2, 3 different food places here in Strongsville, and every single time it was either through the drive-through. Once we were at a sit-down restaurant, and she.
So if they blocked you, do they have some sort of bad vibe by you as well for some reason? That's noteworthy. Hey, Jay. Hey, Valerie. Good to see you guys. You know, that's noteworthy, in my opinion.
She was a waiter. She wasn't our waiter, but she was a waiter. And every single time, you know, her and Rosie hug, they share a good little moment, and then we go on about a business, you know. They never really wanted to know what we've got to say in a way, I guess.
So what is your reason tonight? This, you know, we've been rocking out for 3 hours and 14 minutes, and I appreciate your honesty and your transparency. And you do know there's going to be pushback. I'm pretty sure.
I've seen the worst of it already. Trust me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We know a thing or two about that. Right. I'll tell you this. what was your reason for coming on here tonight? What would you want to tell the people? You know, because I'm sure this video is going to travel a little bit. So what would you want to say to get off your chest?
I wanted to first off get our story out there. I mean, we tried doing it with Netflix. We have been hit up from previous, like the Mean Girl murders. We were contacted by them. They wanted us to go on there and talk about social media and that we'd be compensated for it, and we simply declined. Netflix was the first one that hit us up. That were like, we want to get all angles. We want to get stories. We want to get your voices out there. Because, I mean, as you can see from the release of this documentary, the main takeaway was me and Rosie didn't cooperate with police. That we for some shady reason, we didn't want to cooperate in a investigation that dealt with our two friends dying. And it's shit.
You want to read? You want to read this real quick?
Puzzle piece. What puzzle piece?
Please, JFK, ask about the puzzle piece comment he made to Mackenzie. You're not familiar with that?
What was like on the jail phone call or something like that?
I don't know. People know a lot.
The only thing I would assume is that it's on a jail phone call, and if it was on a jail phone call, then what I probably meant behind it is that there is a lot of information, a lot of so-called facts and evidence that's been flipped. It's almost like a puzzle. You know what I mean? It's been flipped the other way. It's been changed around, and we're going to fix that. You know what I mean? We're going to make sure that truth comes out, and the truths that are being flipped or that were took in and ran on with the media and all these theories were made about it. I thought that also plays into a fact of why I came on here, is to be able to clear those things up, to be able to clear up things as simple as, oh, did Landon or Rosie go to the crash and take drugs out, you know, or she drove past the accident and didn't call nobody, or that I'm not friends with Davion and Dom, that I'm Mackenzie's minion and I'm Mackenzie's.
And see how he's like listing off all this like bullshit rumors that he's heard. Like, did they go to the crash site and take the drugs out? Did you take money? Did you take a handgun? Did you take whatever electronic device we see in the car, in the video? He left all those out, but he says, you know, oh, did we take drugs out of the car? There's much more that people are speculating that might have gotten taken from that crash site.
Best friend and Rosie's Mackenzie's best friend, like all of that information is all misinformation and lies, and that like there's no one else.
Read that?
There'd be no one else to be able to say that's a lie other than me or Rosie. Yeah, so it's exactly what I meant by that, is that we feel as if there's information that's wrong. There's parts of this whole entire puzzle that's missing. Crucial information, evidence that shows intent. There's shit that's missing that are just...
There's shit that's missing, but then why didn't you and Rosie do your police interviews like when they first wanted to speak with you guys? Now you're going to be all mad about how Netflix and Hulu and everyone else is portraying things, and the victim's family even. It's like, you guys are the ones that decided to go the route you went to. They had to chase you down to college to get your police interview weeks and weeks later, and Rosie never wanted to do an interview. That's why there's so much speculation and so many rumors surrounding you and Rosie. And then everything else you added in this whole 4-hour-long thing that we've gone through. Everything else kind of makes it look even more suspicious. Like, it's you. The call is coming from inside the house.
Factually wrong. And that I guess that's what that comment was directed towards, is that we're going to figure it out and then we're going to piece it together. If it pieces together to be reckless driving, if it pieces together to be a medical episode, manslaughter, or even murder, if it goes to retrial and they find even more hard evidence that it was murder, fine. If it's enough evidence, and if it's solid, clear evidence, it's going to show me that yes, they got into a fight that morning and that's what's happened, then I'm fine with that. I'll accept that. And if that's truly what the facts say, then I'm comfortable with me and the world believing that. But
why are you? What my thing is, right? Why do you care though? Because in the end, it's still the same result, right? So you killed both of your friends.
Because I don't feel like it's right for both them boys' story to be told in a non-correct way. Or
with the murder. I get it. The narrative.
Yeah. You would rather the story be told by you that Dom was a dope dealer and Davion died with a lot of debts. Got it.
that it's murder. But I mean, most people, they don't really say vehicular homicide. When people say vehicular homicide, they think murder anyway. You know, when you say manslaughter, you think murder anyway. You know what I mean? Like someone dies, you think it's bad.
Yeah.
Like it's all bad. It's nothing. It's nothing
really
good. Like it's not going to change really anything. She's still doing time regardless.
Yeah, no, like I said, even though, like I said multiple times, like, it's not the time that bothers me. What bothers me is that the whole world is under this impression that she just went out of her way to kill them in cold blood, and that they were probably terrified for their life in that moment. I just feel like that's not what happened. It's like,
but they could have been terrified. They could have been terrified though. Too.
Yeah.
If you're going 90 miles an hour in a car, you guys aren't terrified? Oh, that's right. Because Bubba wants you to think that it's possible Dom and Davion wanted to have fun and told Mackenzie to do that. So, I mean, the odds that both Davion and Dom were egging on this reckless driving, like, no. I don't think so.
Yeah, but it's I mean, it's like you said, it's you can go down both ways. I can't know for sure, and they can't know for sure.
No, they can't. 1,000%, 1,000%. There was reasonable doubt. She took a bench trial. What now? Did you ever talk to her about that?
Yeah.
What did she say about that?
That her and her family and everyone that was like a part of her family was pushing for a jury, and that when it came to the day of court, and she was sitting back there with her lawyer discussing if they wanted a jury or a judge, and she's saying, "I want a jury." I guess he said something along the lines of, "Well, I think you should go with a judge." And she was like, "No, like my mother, my father, me, we all believe that we should go with a jury." And he was like, "Well, that means you'd be going against your legal counsel's advice, and I highly advise you not to do that." And I mean, I look at it as, you know, she was a 17-year-old girl, never has had any record of like having to deal with police or like going to court, doesn't really know how the legal system works. I mean,
That's actually not true. She had a speeding ticket.
What you talked to Natalie about, I feel like, could you have seen how she has no idea either how the legal system works, and they're kind of just letting their legal counsel.
No, I get it. I mean, I definitely. I mean, what I can do is I can tell you, my man, I can separate myself from this and say, if legally there's an issue, right, by law, they're gonna have to fix it, right? And that's what usually, and that would be a decision, though.
That's another reason that, like, this is all interesting still for me, is the appeal process. Like, just because somebody would maybe be interested in seeing the retrial doesn't necessarily believe that we think she's innocent. Like JFK said, like, we can separate ourselves and realize, like, if there was mistakes made, and I feel the same way about Scott Peterson with the Lacey Peterson trial, mistakes being made in the United States of America when everyone is supposed to be given a fair trial, that's a problem. But it doesn't necessarily mean that you think the perpetrator, the suspect, or the defendant is innocent. You just feel like, well, mistakes need to be corrected. We're seeing that in the Letitia Stout case now. She's going to get a new trial, the Gannon Stout murder. We're seeing that as well with Alex Murdaugh, Adam Montgomery. All those cases, all different states, they are getting new trials because there's a process and it wasn't done accurately or up to standard for the United States in the Constitution. It seems like this could very well happen for Mackenzie. As much as people don't want to hear that, you know, you have to mentally put yourself in that position. If they're able to prove an effective counsel, or certain evidence wasn't admitted that needed to, or there was a mistake along the way, whatever, you know what I mean? Like, that'll come out in the process as it should. And, you know, then Bubba will have his new chance to see what is spun as far as evidence for him, because he's not on board with this whole, like, she murdered him on purpose. For whatever reason, he'll throw out any other theory, but that's not going to be one of them. And they absolutely didn't fight, he's saying. So I tend to think that it's probably the opposite of what Bubba's been telling us. And there was a fight that took place that night, and he knows that.
That doesn't mean they have to. It will be a decision if they will. right? And so if there is something in this, the higher court say, hey, this is wrong, they're going to fix it, right? Or at least they're going to review it and make a decision. So speaking of that, did you go visit with her? How long was she in the DYS, in the juvenile detention? How long was she there for? Did you go see her there?
I'm not sure. We never visited her or saw her in there. Never, yeah, no. I think we only ever got to talk to the phone while that whole process was going on.
So you never talked to her when she was in the DYS? And did she ever express the difference?
Like the phone calls of me and Rosie and all that were when she was in there.
And what'd she say about that experience?
It was a lot. I guess it was a lot more friendlier and like.
Okay, so note that they do have phone calls with Mackenzie, but when she was in the juvenile detention area, soon as she gets moved to adult, it seems like he's saying the calls didn't continue.
I wouldn't say laid back because it's still like you're still in jail in a way, but you're just treated a little bit better in a way, I guess. I don't know. I would assume that the county jail in Marysville is a little bit more harsher, with like restrictions and basic rules, or, if you have to be on a timely schedule. I don't really know too much of how her schedule was or what her experience was in the juvenile courts. I never really asked her about that.
Do you think that Mackenzie could be rehabilitated?
Yeah. I mean, I think anyone other than a child molester and a serial killer could be rehabilitated. I think the biggest thug who, went up and shot up his ops and killed 4 of them, I think he could be rehabilitated. It might take longer, but at the end of the day, people can be rehabilitated,
So in closing, what do you want to say? I'm sorry, I kind of cut you off before, to the people. You just want to get your story out?
Yeah, I want to make it like just apparent that me, and even like I can speak in Rosie's defense, like we just simply are not buying what's said in court from our personal experiences with the months leading up to this and knowing them. We could never see the way that they played it out in court of that way happening. And yeah, I could say and say, I could never see that. I could never see that. But I still stand and say that they never proved it. They never proved it to me, ever. And like I said, like anyone can go as much as they want about the EDR data. But like I said, like that data does not 100% prove an intent. It doesn't. And like some people can think it does, but it doesn't. And like I said, there's multiple explanations that can.
Now, Mackenzie didn't say much in the Netflix documentary, but what's the one thing that she wants to make clear? That she had no intent to kill them. And what's Bubba saying here? He's got to double down on. The data with the car doesn't prove intent. It's like the same script, but like, why, Bubba? Like, is it for attention?
Can go and account for that I felt like weren't investigated properly and weren't, cross-examined and really investigated. Like another thing that stands out to me is that, a double homicide case takes 4 days in court. I feel like I've never seen that happen before. I know simple assault fucking cases that's taken weeks in court, So the fact that this went by in like a blink of an eye, there was no defense whatsoever. Like we still question why there was no defense, why he did what he did. Like, and I just think that there would be a lot more interesting information that can be discussed if it went to a retrial. And I would even say that from talking to her family, no one has ever said, and I would say that the Free Mackenzie page has created a big misinterpretation of this because the name is Free Mackenzie Shirilla, but no one that's involved in this situation.
Who's running that page?
What's up?
Who runs that page?
I have no idea. I know it's not her parents, but I know it's for sure not her parents. And I don't know if it's someone that's related to her parents, but I know it's definitely not Natalie nor Steve. I would bet that they don't have the time to sit there all day on that account and do that.
Oh, they do. They do. Especially since Steve no longer has his job position.
But I would say this, that not once have they ever been like, she should be out of jail. Now, maybe they said that on the phone calls to comfort Kenzie or to do whatever they need to do in that time. But from my personal conversations with them, never once have we all sat there and been like, yeah, she needs to get out of jail completely. She needs to be completely 100% scot-free. No, I just want to hear the true story. I don't want no bullshit stretched out narrative where they have to find certain things and stretch it and make it seem a certain way to fit their narrative. And that's clearly what they've done. There's no ifs and buts about it. It's clearly what they've done in this situation. And to me, that's not the true story. If you got to do that, then that's not the true story. You know what I mean? Like,
how do you prove this true story?
That's what the police are there for. That's what the police and the prosecutor and the investigators are there for. And the way that they went about it in this original case.
That's what the police are for, but Rosie wouldn't speak with them. Okay, Bubba.
It simply factually does not line up factually, in my opinion. Like, everyone always asks me, why was she going 100 miles per hour? That's a question that I'll never be able to answer in my entire life.
And that's the main part of the case, my brother.
Well, that's the question that the police are there to figure out. And the way that they figured out about it, I feel like is factually not right. Like, there's clear parts of their evidence that's factually wrong. So if that's the case, then this whole thing that they try to come up with to prove 100% acceleration, if there's parts that are wrong, and one of the parts that's wrong is like their main piece of evidence, I feel like then they were just trying to stretch it to fill that maybe they truly didn't know what happened and they can't prove what happened. So that's the only thing that they can go towards.
But does that work in the appeal is the question. And that's why we're doing this. We're looking at it from a law standpoint. Can you get enough of this evidence, everything you're saying, and can you package it up, put it to a higher court, and will they look at it and say, hey, I know and flip the case?
I know the text messages of me that I'm talking about the incident on the highway prior. I know those have been in the appeal. I know the medical expert / neurological doctor that ran her tests and said that her O2 levels were found here and that there was 4 or 5 other levels found within the range of suffering a seizure. Like, I know that information was all put in the appeal, but like we've seen, the appeals have gotten denied, and I don't think they've gotten denied for reasons to do with what information is involved. I think it's from, her counsel putting it in a day late. That has nothing to do with like the information that was actually within that appeal and the evidence that was used in that appeal. It had nothing to do with that. It was all down to the point that it was a day late, So like, I feel like there's never been an actual appeal yet to where they've had to forcefully look at the information that's involved in that, And I feel like we still have yet to hear a response to any of the information that was in the appeals.
So what do you feel about the public perception? I mean, do you think that Mackenzie thought that everybody was going to take her side with this? And then it kind of backfired on him?
I tell this to everybody all the time, dude. Like, the way that her attitude is and the way that she just was as a person, it really fucked her at the end of the day. It fucked her. I mean, there's no defending someone that has an attitude. There's no defending that. That's what's shown in text messages.
Did he just say they fucked her?
It's all down to a certain point. Has it ever gotten to the point where they threatened to take each other's life? That's really where that comes to.
But she never told Dom's mom. You understand? She told Dom's mom. She took the corner, right? In the text message, she took the corner. She don't remember nothing else after that. So, do you think the narrative changed when they started dropping the parts in there? Was that? And then you got to keep in mind too, when she was first being interviewed by the police, right? She started talking in that crazy county language. You know what I mean? And I talked to Jay Brill last night, and he said, "Oh, that's the same as a Spanish person talking," and it's really not, because Spanish can be interpreted. You can't unless you know Carney. You ain't. Most people don't know that shit.
I've seen them talking that language a handful of
times. That's not sneaky in front of an investigator, because you just said that she asked you. Yeah, she asked you. You said she asked you what happened, right? That night, were they in a fight? Why wouldn't she be the first thing she would want to do is ask the cop what he knows? Why would she go right into defense mode and start talking in this county language, talking about, here, take my license, and already talking about the type of repercussions she should get, like already making their minds up and already kind of like admitting guilt. Like, there's a lot of funny shit she did in the first. No, you gotta always look at it right when the shit went down, my man.
I agree. Now, when it comes to the Carney talk, we've sat there with Natalie and she's broken it down for us, and I guess there is no real way we'll ever know if it's true or not. I mean, I believe her, but based off,
you don't believe she said seizure?
No, I don't think she said seizure. I know how seizure sounds, and it does not sound like any.
But who are we supposed to believe? The fucking guy who works at the carnival that has stolen kittens in his back pocket?
I mean, I would say that that's just as credible as a prosecutor who's admitted that they can't translate it. And
okay, so Bubba's saying, like, no, I don't believe that Mackenzie tried to say to her mom in Carney language, can I tell them I had a seizure? Because remember, the body cam picked that up, and everyone's been saying, like, see, she says here to her mom in their little language, can I say that I had a seizure? Well, Bubba doesn't believe that's what was said. Okay, well, what about the deer rumor? Because I cannot remember which one it was, either Dom's mom or brother. You can listen to them on my channel. One of them say that there was rumors about a deer excuse being used. So where'd that come from? You don't believe that either, Bubba?
That magically out of nowhere, someone stepped forward and translated it. I would say that's just as credible as someone at the carnival saying that, you know? If there's no
Yeah,
way
but
to
the
prove
carnival,
things-
the carnivals, I'm saying, who are you supposed to, that's what I'm saying. That's the reason why it doesn't,
Yeah, I mean, it's sketchy.
how are
It's
you
sketchy
supposed
at the
to?
end of the day. It's sketchy at the end of the day, but I've heard, like I said, even before the accident happened, you know, those times where her mom would poke her head in the room and see what's up or see if we need anything. They talk in that language all the time. I know Dom,
And you didn't feel, and you didn't feel, you didn't feel a certain way when you heard that shit?
No, I don't really care for it. I mean, I know, like, I have Muslim friends. I have lots of friends who talk to their parents and that when friends are around and stuff, so they don't hear what's going on. And I mean, it could be on some personal shit. I don't know. I never really thought anything weird of it. I know it's funny. The one word that Dom knew in it was Percocet. It was like,
Oh, so now he's going to bring up how Dom would talk about Percocet in that language. Okay, so now he's talking about Dom being associated with Percocets. That's nice, Bubba. But are you saying that you're comparing parents who are Muslim speaking in Arabic in front of you to Natalie and Mackenzie speaking to each other on body cam worn by the detective investigating this? And you're trying to equate them and that there's nothing weird about Mackenzie and Natalie doing that. Okay, Bubba.
perky years easy. It's such a fucking confusing way to speak.
But that's what I'm saying. Like when you're talking about, like, you know, people talking in their language, if you want to know, you could just turn your phone on and just
translate,
and translate it. You can't translate that shit, so it's a sneaky mechanism, man. And that's and right there, it falls into a narrative. So you know, can you understand that? You can understand.
No, right? I can understand it 100%. I mean, I can understand it from the outside point of view, from an average Joe looking in. I can understand all of those. I'll just only speak for what I feel and my opinions on it. You know?
I get it. And you have a right to it. And I dig that, brother. And I appreciate, you know, you coming up here and being honest, you know, and let me take a couple questions in there. I need some good questions. Long gamers, you know how this goes. If you guys want the questions, man, come on.
Long gamers, it is time to match the energy.
Okay. You see that jersey up on the wall up there?
What's that?
That right there.
I can see it. That
is one of the 3 jerseys that Davion had in high school. He was buried in one, and the other one is framed at the high school. I was gifted that one from the coaching staff. That's awesome. That's another little, I guess, piece of proof to show that I'm Davion's friend for anyone that still doesn't believe that I'm their friend.
We don't believe that you're his friend because of the way you speak about him.
Yeah, definitely. What's up, Kev? You got a question? I know you got some, brother.
I love JFK's response. Like, yeah, definitely. Like, okay, Bubba.
You know. I don't know. Am I frozen up? It looks like I'm frozen up.
Yeah, just do what I said. Hit the 3 dots, turn your mic on, and all that.
No, I've never
heard Have Parts episode since he said that it was his first thought of what happened.
No, I've never with my own 2 eyes have seen it, or I've only ever heard.
So he say his first thought was that she had a Potts episode, but he's also in the same live stream saying that he'd never seen her have an episode on it.
I've heard of it from her mother, from Dom, and from her. I've never witnessed it happen.
Please ask my question. Becca, you've been asking a lot of questions. You got to say it again. I lost it. Let me see. How does Bubba feel about MS dad saying if it were Davion, he wouldn't be in prison? Yeah, when you heard that, that's a good question. Thank you, Becca. So the dad recently said if Davion was just in the car, she would still be in juvenile detention.
I can see where he's coming from. I don't know how factually true that would be, in all honesty. I mean,
thank you, nice shift.
I mean, if you take it by all technicality, yeah, if Dom was not involved, then the entire whole thing brought up about their relationship wouldn't be able to be used in court. So I would say maybe, yeah, that would be the case. It's not because I don't know if it's because of his last name in particular. Like that could play a little bit of a role, but I would just say since they were in a relationship and they had all those text messages, they had all the text toxicity between them that was going on behind closed doors. If you remove that whole entire part out of the equation, yeah, she probably would end up being still in juvenile court and juvenile detention, I would think.
Mama J says, did her family file a BBO complaint against her attorney?
I'm not exactly sure. I'm not too sure. I think at some point a part of the appeal was ineffective counsel. I don't know what BBO means, but I don't know if that's the same thing as ineffective counsel, but I think they that's in some appeal somewhere.
Nice. What do we got here? Then people started calling detectives saying, okay, we got some, I don't even know what that means. Trying to keep up with you guys. This chat's moving. Was Mackenzie a regular seatbelt wearer?
I never made an effort to really look into that. I know that from videos that we've seen and things that came off her phone, I would say it's pretty divided at this point, where I would say there's just as many videos of her with the seatbelt on, or even with a seatbelt tucked under her arms, as there is with her without a seatbelt on. I can't really, it's not something I really looked out for. When I get in the car with people, I'm not looking to see if everyone's wearing their seatbelts,
I dig it. You want to read that right there? That's a good one.
No, I did not sign it.
Why's that?
I don't know. I just haven't gone out the way to sign it. I mean, if one day I come around and I want to sign it, then I'll sign it. I don't think my one vote is going to make a difference in that petition. And I say the same thing about politicians in the political world. I'm not registered to vote. My one vote is not going to change the outcome of a petition or of any type of decision of that sort.
Sane says, where did Kenzie get a new accent from?
Being around all them ghetto ass bitches in prison. What? What? Again, when I saw her go on that documentary, I was like, God damn, the prison did it. It ran a little bit of a number on her and her personality, and I understand it for real. I mean, when I went into college, and the group of people I was hanging out with in college, and their lingo was completely different. They spoke, they were from the South. Their lingo was completely different, and I've adapted that, and I still say things that they would say that I've learned from them. I just adapted their way of speaking, and then once I kind of stopped hanging around them, once I got out of college, now the way that I speak is a mixture of all of it. It's a mixture of how I used to speak versus how I was when I was in college. I feel like it's a very big factor of who you're being around and whatnot, and trying to fit in or whatever the case is.
I can dig that. Let's just say she hasn't been convicted yet. What do you think is the appropriate charges and sentencing would be, if any?
Reckless driving and whatever that carries. I don't know the exact years on that. Like I said, I've never really been too worried about how much years she gets. I just want to know the true story.
Steve said in a recent latest interview that they were on their way to deliver Don's drugs. And in other words, he's dead. In other words, he's dead because he was a drug dealer, and they not been delivering them no accident. I don't know. That's really
I don't recall hearing that. They weren't running drugs at 5 a.m. I don't think that was a thing that they particularly would do. I've never heard of somebody going and running drugs at 5 a.m, but I'm not too educated on that side of shit. But no, I've never heard of that. I don't ever recall him saying that in the interview.
Interesting question. What's the interesting question? Sounds more okay. We don't looking for questions, people. What are you studying in college? There's something.
I dropped out because of all of this shit.
Really?
Dropped out. Yeah, it caused me to not want to. The fact that because my coaching staff knew what I was going through. They knew.
What? So your whole future and career path was dictated by all this? But you have no guilt, or you've done nothing wrong in this whole story. You just happen to be one of the last people who saw them. What? That makes no sense. If anything, I agree with Just Pepper. It sounds like if you were involved in some way, shape, or form, or whatever, would be a reason for you not to be able to go forward. Or did you think you would get money with book deals, or what's going on here?
That we thought that this was a car accident that my two friends were involved in. They knew that my position coach had a similar thing go that he went through when he was in college, where he had a couple buddies pass away. So I was able to kind of connect with him on that. And then out of nowhere, I get hit with these accusations with the DEA, and that if I'm a suspect and a victim, I don't know, at the time, being naive and being young, I just took that very disrespectfully. And
Did he say suspect?
And then, out of nowhere, I get hit with these accusations of the DEA, and that if I'm a suspect and a victim.
DEA, I'm a suspect or a victim?
like out of nowhere, I get hit with these accusations of the DEA and that if I'm a suspect and a victim, I don't know, at the time, being naive and being young, I just took that very disrespectfully. And I ended up quitting football. And right after I quit football, I'm like, yeah, I'm done this semester. I don't want to give my money to this college. I just felt really disrespected. Because at that point, like,
did you get paid? Did you get paid from Netflix? That's another question.
No, I mean, I could post.
What? You can't continue your career path because of all this? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Especially if, like, you were earlier, he said they were trying to move forward, and that's what they were doing when they got to college.
My contract, I have a screenshot of it right now on my phone. There's no words in there talking about being compensated. The Mean Girl Murder documentary, I also have a screenshot of them hitting us up. All the people that went on there got compensated. And actually, I have screenshots of a text message thread between a girl that was on that documentary and one of her friends and another individual where she admits that she only went on there for the check, for the money that she got. And I would assume, other than the family members, all those other girls did the exact same thing because they were all completely irrelevant, that we've never met them. I've heard stories of them, but I don't know why those random group of girls went on that documentary and said stuff.
Avril says, has Mackenzie ever been known to have seizures?
Yeah, I've heard that. I know Dom used to always say if she took mushrooms, she had seizures. I know even in Tyler Proctor's interview, he says that he's heard that through the grapevine. So, yeah, I don't know how common it was. I don't know if it was only to when she took stuff like that. I'm not too sure. I know I've heard of a time when her mom said that she saw her having a POTS attack, but she was seizing up. And I guess that there's underlying symptoms. Like when you have POTS, just the fact that you have that chronic disease can cause underlying problems like non-epileptic seizures that cause you to have seizure-like episodes, but they're not epileptic and they're not through the brain, they're through neurological things. And that's why I kind of question like the evidence that they used for the medical condition in the appeal, where they're like, well, we found her O2 levels were found at this, I think it was like her lactate, or like, there was 4 other levels that they found that they said were in the range for her having a seizure or suffering a seizure at or around the time of the crash. So I just think that like that information, I would really like to have them prosecutors to have experts dive deep on what all that means. I don't like how that's just sitting.
So let's say she's having a seizure. How is she on the gas? And if the car was going from neutral to drive, etc., who's shifting it? The person having the seizure?
There untouched, not talked about. So
Got a good one here. Did Davion like Mackenzie?
Yeah, that whole bullshit lie where like Davion like went off on Mackenzie for like introducing Divine to weed. I'd never heard that. I never heard that from Davion himself. I don't know if that truly happened or not. I never witnessed it. I mean, it could have might have well happened, but no, he didn't. He didn't end up like snapping on her. I never heard of them having any animosity towards each other. I know some of Davion's girlfriend, not actual girlfriends, but like friends that were girls, didn't like Kenzie. So I know that there was some talks about Davion like asking Mackenzie if she had blocked him or something because of like that drama that was going on with all those girls. I think that's a lie.
The Annie Lynch experience, she said there's medical, you seen it?
Yeah, there's medical there's from 2017. She was diagnosed in 2017 by a doctor. Those medical documents are in her appeal where she was diagnosed. Her original.
Okay, so yeah, I did want to clarify that because I know a lot of people are saying she doesn't have POTS. She doesn't have POTS. There is a paper trail of it dating back to 2017. I'm not saying that she was having a POTS episode that night. I'm just saying she apparently has it on her medical records and they are using it in her appeal. Therefore, it's valid information. Whether you think she has it for real, even though a doctor says she does on these records, like that's up to you to decide or whatever. But I know that, and this isn't sticking up for Mackenzie. I'm just saying, like, it seems like there is evidence to say in 2017, before this crash happened, obviously, there is a paper trail indicating she did have this. So I think that we need to just clarify that because a lot of people are saying she didn't have it. She didn't have it. She has it, but I don't think that that was an episode related to it.
Original lawyer, right? Her original lawyer seeked out a neurological expert to look at the tests done and ran on her right after the accident. That's where all that information that I just told you about, the O2 levels, all those other levels where they say medically and scientifically, they're certain that she suffered some form of seizure. That's what they say in their document, physically, black and white paper. And then there's also another piece of medical evidence, and I could probably pull it up. I have the screenshots of it, where they specifically said that she was diagnosed in 2017 with that medical condition, and that she has. I would have to find the exact thing, but there's another, I think, document where it talks about seizures specifically, like the word seizures is highlighted, how she's like been known to have seizure-like symptoms and stuff. So all that's in the appeal. Like if you really go look at the appeal and bust that down, that's all in there.
Then why did it lose this information with obtaining a license? I think what she's trying to say is, why did she get a license if she had parts?
So
Why'd the mother do it?
So I know, like legally, there's like a standard of if you have that medical condition, you have to like go through a certain period of time of not having an episode. I don't know if it's 3 months. I don't know if it's 6 months. I don't know if it varies depending on what state. But I know that it is possible for you to get your license off that, because there are medical remedies. Like for her, I knew they prescribed her salt tablets. She would have to take these salt tablets. So the reason she wouldn't, I've never seen her eat those salt tablets. What she would do is she would get popcorn, she'd get fries, she'd get things that you put salt on, and then she would just load it up with salt and get her salt and take it that way. Because I guess that has something to do with the salt. And a fun fact, that night that she brought the popcorn, that was like her salty snack for the night. I don't know if this means anything. Take it what you want, but I ended up eating that whole entire bag of popcorn when she left it unattended.
Now that I believe.
Of course you did.
Yeah, and when she came back, she had gotten mad at me. But does that mean, oh my God, she didn't get her salt intake? I don't know. I don't know. You know what I mean? That's just something that I find weird and coincidental from that time. But
that's fair.
Yeah, but
parts is a real thing, man. Parts is a real thing, and if she had parts, you guys are gonna have to deal with it. She had parts.
Just got diagnosed with it like a couple months ago.
It's a real thing, man. Until you know what that's like. I mean, I know someone who has it. It's wild, man.
And there's a range of underlying symptoms that can like just form just because your body is dealing with that chronic disease. Like there's other things that can form.
Now he's a medical expert.
Like non-epileptic seizures. That's called PNES. If you look that up, it's called PNES. These are true things that can happen that were never touched on or investigated on. And I saw one of them, they were like, well, about her license. And here's the thing. She was trying to get her license back from Dominic's house, but she wasn't allowed in there, which, I mean, I could see why. But that's the whole reason why. Like, they made it a whole big deal that she went out and tried getting her license again and that she was going to try driving it. No, she went out and got her license again because they weren't letting her go in and grab her purse and grab her belongings and be able to grab her license. That I don't know if she needs that for the legal things that are coming down the road at that time. I don't know if you need your ID for that, or if, they automatically know who you are. You don't have to prove for you. I don't know any of that. So, I mean, that's the whole reason why she even went back to get her license again.
Did he ever get milk too from Steve? Just kidding.
No, but I will say I've heard from other people. I've heard from on 2 other lives that I was on before this that I guess that is a frequent thing that some families do, that some grandmas give kids. I guess there's medical science behind it, that it's supposed to improve your brain or whatever the case is. I know there's medical things that can explain that. I don't think it was on. I mean, I wouldn't even say I don't think. I would know that. I don't. Yeah.
And people definitely thought it was strange that she was begging to get into Dominic's house again to get her license. And, Bubba just wants everyone to know that, like, she might have needed that for legal things. It's like, no, she wanted to go into Dom's place for something outside of getting her items. There was something else in Dom's place that she needed to get to, in my opinion. But of course, Bubba's got to make it seem like, she might have needed her ID. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think that it has anything nasty behind it,
I'll say this, man, the last one of the night. Will you get in the car when Mackenzie is driving again?
I would say take her license away. Why even? I mean, why
would you get in the car? Would you get in the car with her again?
Yeah, but I'd be driving, not her.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yes, I do. Well, listen, my man, Bubba, I appreciate you coming up here. I hope this helps you. I understand you've been through a lot. You lost Avion. You lost Dom.
Really, really good interview. If you didn't see the first 2 parts that we broke down, you should definitely go to JFK's channel, or you can listen to Melly and I break it down on our Mackenzie Shirilla playlist on my channel. Yeah, and that's kind of going to conclude tonight's deep dive. We're doing Friday night deep dives into this case weekly. During the week, I'll post shorts or videos either related to this case or other true crime cases. And then the weekends we do our live streams. So Mackenzie Shirilla Friday nights, and then Saturday nights we do kind of a laid back true crime community chat. So that'll be tomorrow night. I hope you guys join me for that. And yeah, if you guys haven't checked out JFK, he has an interview with Natalie. So I haven't listened to that. There's so much to go through. I think at this point we'll start digging into police interviews maybe. Should we start there? And then we'll work out, you know, the written notes and the detective notes and all the other stuff to go through, police phone calls, or I mean prison phone calls, whatever. So yeah, join me tomorrow night. Thanks everybody for being here. Like and subscribe if you haven't. And I really appreciate everybody who participated in chat. Really good chat, really good comments. I know this case is a lot of people's interest, and her appeal process is definitely going to bring a lot of interest as well. We read through some of this detective notes here in the beginning of the stream if you missed it. So you can hear what Rosie and others were saying early on. And yeah, I appreciate it. Bye, guys.